All set, Mr. Chairman.
Good afternoon. I'm now going to call the joint meeting of the Norfolk County Commissioners to order. This is Wednesday, March 2nd. As I said, this is a joint meeting. We have a full meeting of the county commissioners, and the reason for the joint meeting is that we are going to have budget presentations from 3 departments, and members of the Norfolk County Advisory Board Finance Committee are going to join us. But I'm now going to call the commissioners' portion to order, take a few items early, not early, on time, and then we'll go to the joint meeting for purposes of the budget. On Thursday, March 12, 2020, Governor Charles Baker issued an order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20. That order was effective immediately and until it is rescinded or the state of emergency is terminated. On February 12, 2022, by action of the legislature, the order was extended to July 15th of 2020. This is a 2022, I'm sorry. This meeting is live and on Zoom. I believe we refer to it as a hybrid meeting. If there's no objection, I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'm going to take the roll call of the commissioners. Commissioner Stady.
Present.
Commissioner Collins.
Present.
And Chairman Shea is here. We have a quorum. If there's no other objection, I'd like to go to number 4, which is the minutes of the open session meeting, which was February 23rd, 2022 for approval.
Mr. Chairman, if you could hold those until the Finance Committee comes as well, so you could approve them all together.
Okay, thank you. Can we do any other issue before we call the Finance Committee to order?
Pledge allegiance.
I'm sorry, of course. Would everyone rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay.
We could take the executive session up if you wish, Mr. Chairman,
Um,
on our agenda. The minutes approval, if you wish.
Okay, okay, we couldn't do the joint minutes. Okay, under the commissioner's agenda, if there's no objection, I'm going to try to get through some of these items before we have the joint meeting. Number 1 is the minutes of the executive session held last Wednesday on February 23rd, 2022 for approval.
I'd move approval,
Commissioners,
Mr. Chairman.
I'll abstain because I wasn't here.
Right.
Okay, and these, I will second it. All in favor of accepting the executive session minutes of February 22nd,
These minutes are to be released,
23rd, 2022,
to be released.
to be released at a later date.
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Number 2, public comment. I think we can take the public comment part in proper order here. So, Director Cronin, did you have any notice of public comment?
No, sir.
Do we have anyone else who has public comment today?
Yes.
Speak up, and all we need is your name and
Oh,
ready to
Catherine.
go.
Hi, I'm Kathleen McNally, and I
Hi,
work at the
Kathleen.
Registry of Deeds. I also brought a few people with me. This is Anna Vito, who is one of our managers in the recorded side. She's been here 48 years. Lauren Grant, Lauren Dutton, who has also been here 37 years. Ann Comerford has been here 18 years, and I've been here 16. And what I want to ask is that Mr. Cronin, I basically worked with him. I'm sorry, Mr. Shea.
That's all right.
The last couple of meetings, we've heard a lot about a handbook.
Mhm.
And we had talked, we heard Mr. Cronin talking to the assistant treasurer, I believe, last week about vacation time,
Vacation carryover.
vacation carryover. Well, in all the years that we've ever been here, and Mr. Cronin went to look for the handbook and didn't come back, and we sat with bated breath looking for this handbook. None of us have ever seen one, ever. We don't know what's in it. We know nothing. And we would like to know, I guess at one point, $25,000 was given to redo the handbook or
Go ahead.
To have it
Just the letter
printed.
speaking,
No,
I'll
I'm
respond.
sorry.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
to have it printed. But none of us, I mean, 48 years, 37, 18, and 16, and we're only 4 people from the registry. We would like to know, could we have a copy?
Absolutely. Through you, Mr. Chairman, may I
Sure.
respond?
Go ahead.
Thanks for bringing it up. The handbook, as I understand, was drafted in 1987. Through the years, the commissioners have made modifications to it. In fact, quite a few. And last week, what you heard me refer to on the vacation carryover was that Rule 3 has been touched by commissioners many times over the years. And what Joe brought in was his interpretation of where we last stood. So I needed time to go back and look at some of the changes that prior boards have made to that particular piece of the handbook, because that's common that you update your
I
handbook.
can tell you that one of the recent changes is that there's very, very few of us in there. We carry over what we make,
Right.
and honestly, we're all single women. There's an awful lot of people that are still trying to work up to their 2 weeks or 1 week.
Sure.
We've never seen the handbook,
Well-
and we go by hearsay. I mean, none of our team either knows about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're speaking to an issue involving a greater reach of all human resource products. The advisory board voted $15,000 to conduct a study to update the handbook, and we expect to start that in the next 2 months, because there was an attempt to do that a few years ago. The product was pretty much brought along, but not finalized. So we're going to look at where that product left off, finish it maybe sometime this summer, and produce a new handbook. One other thing. One of the things that the commissioners have voted to do is to bring forward a new website. Our website for the commissioners has been updated. We're currently working on bringing content in, not too far from going live. In my experience, prior to arriving at the county, I worked for a large state agency that had something called an intranet. And that's an access point for you and you to see, but not the public. And the intranet is a space where all such documents, like an employee handbook, or any of the benefit packages, your collective bargaining agreements, all the commonly updated benefit packages are right there for you to see. So my hope, once we get the new handbook up and ready, you'll see it on an intranet when we get that ready, hopefully in the next few months. I actually going to ask the advisory board for some money to finish the intranet piece, so it might be several more months, but that's the goal. Before you leave today, I'd like you to go talk to Michelle Abedini and see if she can give you a copy of the existing 1987 version.
Thank you.
And that's my question. Go ahead.
It may have some Scrivener's notes on it and so forth, because it's well traveled, but that's the product that's been floating around for years. But just be advised, if you look up something, it may have had some prior board actions on it. We just haven't been able to retract and kind of clean them all up. That's what the study's going to do.
I know, but we're a little nervous. We'd like to see the unedited copy. We'd like to see.
Yeah, sure.
what it
Just
looks
ask
like.
Michelle and.
Okay.
Question, if it's from 1987, we've all been here since then. Was it never handed
That's
out
my
to the
question. Had you,
employees?
No,
did you, what year did you start?
I started in 2006, but Ann came in 2003 and was told there wasn't a handbook.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
none
our
of
goal,
our
what we
crew,
want to do,
none of our management
But moving
team
forward, once we get the
Okay.
knows
handbook
anything
done,
There
about
was.
it.
new
Last
employees
year
will be
when
given
this
it.
started.
Well, I'd like to.
And I found out that it was in 1987. Of course, I was
Yeah,
surprised.
it's just, you know,
But
Yeah, with regard to new employee hiring, just to take this one step further, just be advised in terms of onboarding and bringing somebody on, there needs to be a more formal process by the county. And the Human Resources Director plays a large part and role in that. So it's not only a handbook, but it's also an explanation of benefits. It's a written offer letter, and it gives you all of your onboarding professional tools so you understand your job going forward. It includes a job description. We'll be working on that as well.
It's true. I mean,
Yeah.
They didn't have one.
we go by hearsay or someone will tell us, like I said, even our management crew, I mean, they go by the guidelines. But I mean, it's so hard because they're busy, but in order for us to go up to them and say, could you tell us a little bit about this vacation? I mean, you have 60 employees over there.
Yeah.
And it's very, very hard. If we had one, we try to help out. We have new people coming in. And we'll say to them, and as our vacation time, because you have to work previous year. So there's a lot of questions about our retirement, about everything that we know nothing about until it comes time to retire. We know nothing.
Okay. I just got a message from Michelle. You feel free to see her.
I will.
But she
I'll
said
go
she
right
sent a
in.
book to Leigh McGahey last week. So, such as it is.
Okay, perfect.
But clearly.
I would say, I would foresee that when the book is finally done, and every time you turn a page, and then you send it to your lawyers, it's held up again, because we want to do it right. Even in the middle of it last year, and the year before the COVID hit, and they said, well, should the COVID be in there, et cetera. I would envision, when you come to work for the county, you should be given the book the day you come here.
But
long
people were
after you-
told we didn't even have one when
Et
they
cetera,
were.
et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
I
So,
specifically asked because I wanted to know what was expected of me
Mhm.
when I came here, and I was told straight out, we don't have one.
We found one, but it's dated 1987. It's the same kind of
I would just like to get a copy of it
You
to
got it.
see what is in there.
do you know how many people were on that Zoom watching it when you got up? And you said, let me go get a copy of that. We almost all ran down here looking for that.
Well,
copy.
that's probably what caused Leigh to get a copy of it. So
Yeah,
I apologize. I'm sorry you didn't have one.
sorry, I cut you off.
Not
We'll take care of that.
I don't want to cut you off. We
No,
like
not
you.
really.
And just the
I mean,
advice,
I'm used
And
to
we
it.
like Peter.
the document is 35 years old, so it,
And you too.
when you read it, it'll reflect it.
Want it.
Can I ask a question? I get that it's from 1987, 35 years old. Why have
Yeah.
we never been given a copy over the 35 years? I get it's updated, but
No,
we've never
We're
had.
starting fresh. I'd say that, Mr. Chairman, my experience as a public employee was teaching, as some of you know, at Canton High for many years. And that was standard operating procedure. First day of school,
Yeah.
first day, every
Correct.
employee got
Correct.
a handbook, and then they got benefit packages. We gave them a whole array of things, especially if they were new. They got a whole packet. That was normal. That's the way that's the way I was raised and brought. So I echo what the chairman's saying. Moving forward, we're going to make changes, and a lot of changes are coming. One will be new employees will be given a whole set of materials, including a handbook. And as Mr. Cronin pointed out, just bear with us. There's a lot of edits and things that, never got done. So we're working on that.
But our
Right.
vacation time
But-
is we're going back and
Yes.
forth about vacation time from a handbook that's being referenced, and the employees have never seen it.
Well,
I
if
don't
you're,
really feel
if you're a
that-
member of
that's not
collective
fair.
bargaining unit, that's different. That's in your contract.
I'm
So,
not.
okay, if you're not, then that's in the personnel book.
Yeah,
We'll be
but
talking
I've
about
never
that
seen
later.
it.
But
So
that's,
I
you know,
don't find that to be
Understood,
fair.
but you'll get something, you will. No one's trying to hide anything. It's
No, we
we're
didn't
finding a
think you
lot
were
of things
hiding
here.
it
you know,
all.
it's-
We were just hoping that you had it when you walked in again,
Yeah.
and you didn't. And I said, well, I don't know where the handbook is, but maybe we'll
By the way,
find
call
one.
me anytime. If you want to call me and ask me, I'd be happy. I could have gotten you a copy right away.
Okay, thank you very much.
Please, good job.
Yeah.
Thank you for all your time.
Okay, no
You bet.
problem.
You sure you don't have
Thank you,
anything to
lady.
say?
No,
We're
because
a wonderful group of women that
Oh,
want to
I-
leave our vacation time
Too
alone.
bad I knew you were coming over. Of course something. I could have given
every
it to
time I
you.
say something, a lawyer.
I'll see you
our
probably
lawyer
Friday.
comes and says,
I'm not.
would you make them
Have a good
through
day.
the bargaining unit? I said, well,
No, it's all right. I'm just,
Thank you.
you're not in the bargaining unit either.
no,
I
I'm not on
understand.
any of it.
I understand.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
All right,
for your
nice seeing
time.
you.
So,
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along.
Mr. Follen has his hand up.
I'm sorry.
Kevin, I'm
Just a
sorry.
brief comment.
Go ahead.
I don't
We're
know.
still under open session, open mic, I call it.
Right.
Public comment.
I'm Kevin Follen. I'm one of your maintenance employees. I'm also president of local 2417, the Norfolk County Employees Union. I know we were talking about vacation time, probably one of the previous commissioner meetings, which Commissioner Collins stated to 10 days. We did bargain for the 10 days, and it's 10 days. I agree with what Mr. Collins said. I also agree with what Commissioner Staney made comments at the commissioners meeting, at the same meeting, in which he brought up the concerns of staffing and having employees having to take a month off or 2 weeks off all at once and leaving the department shorthanded. I agree with both what you were both saying. I was on the negotiating team in which we negotiated. The commissioners came to us at the time. I believe Commissioner Collins was the only one at the time that was on the board. We agreed to it because we figured to use it within the fiscal year was fair enough. But we understand there's going to be times we might have some carryover, so that's where the 10 days came from. I went from 25 days down to 10 days, and I was okay with it. But it was also with the understanding that there's going to be circumstances that happen within the year for individuals, whether there's a workman's comp case or something else comes up that they're unable to use their time. I come to you today to let you know that I'm sure you're well aware of the pandemic and the strains it put on the department for cleaning and the extra protocols we had to do. We're still in the midst of COVID. I know that it's on the down end, thank God. We're down at the downside again. But for maintenance, it's business as usual. We're still under the same cleaning protocols. And I believe it's maybe like 4 of my members in my department. I'm pretty sure there's people in my registry of deeds that worked through the pandemic because of staffing issues. When someone develops COVID, and they have to be out for, I believe it's 10 days or 20 days, this requires the other workers to pick up the slack. I myself, taking care of my son with COVID within his school was out 15 days in January. I wasn't looking forward to it, but my son needed my care. Luckily, I had the time available to use, and I'm not worried about carryover for me. I use all my time. I'm a senior guy. I can take what I want because of seniority. My boss, Mr. McGowan, has always been very acceptable to what time you want off. He works well with the membership, letting us have time off. But there are a certain individuals, there'd be like 4 or 5 people that are needed within the maintenance department. They're needed to do the job. This is what I believe Commissioner Stady commented about at the same meeting you were talking about. And he's correct. You can't have certain key people out in the department. It's not me. I'm not speaking about me. I'm using my time. I have no problem. But we do have individuals within the department that are needed. It's not up to me to determine who these people are. It's Mr. McGowan's position to do. And what I asked the board is, granted, I believe there was an agreement for COVID for last year you had for carryover. I'm not sure what it was, 10 days or 15 days or something. I think that something should be carried over for this year. Again, it's up to you as the board to decide what that is. I'm thinking that we do have about maybe 4 people in the maintenance department that I feel are exceedingly needed. And I believe it's going to happen exactly what Mr. Stady said. You're going to have people that are going to be on vacation for 20 days or 30 days. One of my co-workers has to use up 30 days. And he's going to use them. And you have to fill his position. So again, this is what's happening. I like to just say to the board, it doesn't matter to me. It's not my job to fill it. It's Mr. McGowan's job to make sure the position's covered. But it ultimately falls on the board to make sure that you give Mr. McGowan the opportunity to have these buildings running the way he wants them run. And he wants them staffed. He wants no complaints. He wants everybody to be safe during the pandemic. And he doesn't he has a 0 tolerance for that. And it's up to you guys, I guess it's your position to allow him to say, hey, well, who do you think you need to have on the job, and give them the time, whether it's a year or 6 months or whatever, the extra time to use up the vacation time. My concern is just having the department run the way it should be run, the way Mr. McGowan wants to run. I'm sure the way the commissioners want to run. And I like to say, Commissioner Stady brought up a credible thing. I agree with Commissioner Collins. We voted it in. It is 10 days, but we're in the middle of a pandemic still. It hasn't changed for us in the maintenance department. I can't really speak for the registry people. I'm not a registry person. But even as their president, there might be people that have worked through the pandemic or worked extra hours there who were unable to take vacation time. That's something you may want to ask whoever's in charge of the personnel up in the registry, or talk to Mr. McGowan. But I hope that, I believe you're both agreeable, but now's the time to, the members have been here working through the pandemic. I don't think it's right to have them say, you got to take the next 2 months off or whatever and leave the county shorthanded. So I hope that this continues to talk amongst the board, you come up with a solution. And I think Mr. Stady has a pretty good handle on it. I believe Mr. Collins understood where we're at with it. I think we got to just come midway about it and figure out a solution. And I know the chairman will get the parties together and get this thing rolling and keep us complaint-free and safe. So thank you for giving me the time to speak.
Mr. Chairman, through you,
Director.
in response to Mr. Fullen's remarks, 2 things. The discussion 2 weeks ago was relative to non-union vacation carryover. The remarks that Mr. Fullen's making today seems to conflate that discussion with the benefits found in his collective bargaining agreement. And notwithstanding which direction the commissioners wish to go in, the the county will be sitting at the table with his unit, his union, beginning March 25th, when such time will arrive for us to begin negotiating any and all terms associated with those benefits.
Okay. And needless to say, vacation carryover is an item under old business on our agenda today. I don't believe it's going to be taken up before the budget, however, it is on today's agenda, Carol. Okay. Do we have any more open session comment, public comment? Thank you. I'm going to go back to Elizabeth, Chairman Childs, to see if we can count heads and see if we have a quorum of the Advisory Board Finance Committee. I'm going to look to Bill Buckley to help me here. I see Eric is here.
It
Elizabeth,
appears you just have two, Mr. Chairman.
just have two. Okay. If we have no objection, I'm going to keep going on our regular commissioners agenda till we have one more person from the advisory board come on, and then we'll go to the joint meeting and we'll go right to the budgets, which are Walson Recreation Facility, Engineering Department, update from the school board and commissioners, and that order. Okay, without objection. Personnel matters for consideration. I have two. We have two. This is number 4 on the regular commission agenda.
Are we skipping 3? Are we not?
Well, we're gonna do this. We can't do the budgets till we have one.
No, 3 says vacation carryover policy.
I believe that's gonna take so much time.
Okay, I didn't know.
It was my
making sure.
intention at the beginning
Fine.
today to put
Just-
that towards the end,
Definitely. I'm with you.
after the budgets.
No problem.
If you don't object.
All right, so personnel motions are needed, Mr. Chairman, correct?
Yes.
All right, it'd be a pleasure to move for the agricultural high school in Walpole, Mass. Notice of contingent employment for Alicine Cole of Douglas, Mass. as the JV girls soccer coach for the rate stated effective 3/21/22.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Next,
And we have something for the Wallaston recreational
it
facility.
just came in.
Coincidentally, notice of appointment of George Sullivan of Milton, Mass. That's the assistant super, with the rate stated effective 2/28/22.
Second. Little discussion here. I think everyone knows George. I know he was a longtime employee who left us for greener grass. Greener grass in another golf course. And he came back to our golf course. So
Welcome back.
the way personnel matters go around here, I want to see a positive move. And we want to welcome George back. I know that when he left, we had discussions about big shoes to fill, and before we filled them, he came back. So that's a good thing. So on a motion, seconded to appoint George J. Sullivan of Milton, Mass. as Assistant Superintendent at our golf course at effective 2/28/22. All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome back, George. Okay. Having said that, I've still got an eye on, I see Eric.
I see Dr. Childs.
One more, no?
Louis working on that. That's one of the phone calls.
Okay. Why don't we do payroll and expense warrants, number 5, Commissioner?
All right, Mr. Chairman, for the warrant list of March 2nd, I move the following. Line item 22-35, payroll of the county in the amount of $141,544.56. So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Next,
Second and last one, Mr. Chairman, for 03/01/22, the expense of the county in the amount of $118,114.89. So moved.
Second.
motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
That concludes the payroll and expense warrants. Why don't we have our opera warrant for approval? We have a report on opera?
It's very brief, but
Good. Why don't you give it now?
I will let you know that we have no ARPA awards in front of you this week. I do think you'll have 2 from Bellingham next week. They're in the queue and I'll review them between now and then. This past Wednesday, the quad or multi-county meeting was held electronically, virtually. All counties sharing their wisdom and thoughts about the development of how things are going on the warrant, on ARPA. these are critical meetings. We're learning a lot. I think you'll be proud to hear that Norfolk County is imparting wisdom. Our county friends down south from us are learning a lot from what we're going through because we were first out of the gate and we were moving the money. So Commissioner Treasurer O'Brien chairs the meeting. He finds them very helpful. He did ask if the commissioners are interested in a meeting before April 1st. Our host would be Barnstable County. We went back and forth. It looks like originally the April 1st meeting is gone, and they're going to try to isolate a meeting sometime the first week of April. The time to be determined. I'll let you folks know what they're selecting. So I do have a brief update, and I'll give that under my update later on relative to ARPA, but that's it for now.
Okay, I'm going to move to number 7, which
Just if I could,
Commissioner.
quickly, Mr.
Sure,
Chairman, through you.
we're waiting
I
on.
wanted to commend Senator Markey and his staff, Jim Cantwell, for the excellent work they're doing.
Ben Thomas.
Ben Thomas.
Well,
was
I thought he
involved.
was also involved in it, so I could be wrong, but
Yeah.
the work they're doing to try to straighten out that dilemma we have. with
That was the
Braintree
matter I was
and
going to bring up later.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
please
sorry.
go right ahead.
No,
It's on the agenda. There's
I
something in
didn't
the
know
packet.
that. I didn't see it. My fault. I'll take it back.
That's fine.
Move on. We're thinking alike. We always do.
It's true, we are, yeah. But yeah, it's an impressive.
But that was
development.
pretty impressive. They took the lead on that. That was great. All right, good thing. Bid openings.
Number 7,
We're like one minute
130
away.
bid openings. We have none.
Oh, okay,
So
great.
we cross that off. We're moving right along.
Oh. Anybody?
Actually, Director Cronin, you could give your
Yeah.
report on American
Nancy's
Rescue
coming in
Plan.
here. Was she? Is there anything for us?
We have a contract award.
Oh,
Coming
okay.
up
You
next.
want to do the contract?
Sure.
Okay, number 8. Contract award, food and beverage service for the Wallaston Recreation Facility for a period of 3 years with 3 one-year options. We're going to have Nancy Rockwell, procurement specialist, come in and do this. And then, while Nancy's here, we have our folks from the golf course here because today is their budget day. And any golf course questions we'll entertain while they're here. Go ahead, Nancy. Welcome.
Okay, we received one bid from the View Restaurant and Tavern, now under new ownership of Bill Frazier. They submitted their bid is for 3 years. Year 1, $30,000. Year 2, $31,500. Year 3, $33,075. Plus utilities in the amount of $1,000 per month with an optional renewal of 3 one-year terms to operate the food and beverage service at the Wallaston Recreational Facility.
Okay,
This was sent to Scott Lopez, and he's agreed that we're good to go with this.
Do you know how much they're paying this past year, Nancy?
It might have been, well, it might have been 35,000. I'd have to look at the previous contract. We didn't, due to the current situation, we didn't want to really
yeah, we didn't.
raise the
Because of
minimum
COVID,
bid.
we did relax some.
But this is 3 years, and then any option will be negotiable price-wise. So this isn't, this is just for the 3 years.
Is there any reason we need to take this under advisement? Are we ready to go to that?
You're ready to award the lease, should be ready from Scott Lopez for next
Okay.
Wednesday. This will allow him.
Because I have brief experience here. But as soon as the sun comes out, boom.
And this will
Last
give him the
year's-
time
Last 2
to,
years were very tough because of COVID
right,
but
and this will allow him to get
we're
his
going to go
licenses
forward,
and
not backward,
everything
hopefully.
to open up on the 10th.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Go
If I
ahead.
could, for you,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman. And Nancy, what was your 3 figure? I didn't quite get it.
Sorry,
33.
$33,075.
Oh, $75. Okay, thank you.
And then
Right.
they have the $1,000 a month utilities. They also pay on top of their
Right.
base rent.
Okay, quick follow-up. The View was in trouble with us and they had asked for a couple of periods of grace and things like that. Am I right on that? Was it?
I don't know if they were in trouble,
well,
but
there were
I think they
extensions
were
or,
under the gun.
yeah.
They asked
so-
for,
We had some back and forth.
So my only question would be, you said under a new, there's still the View, but under a new ownership or management
Yes.
team. Are those prior things cleared up?
Yep.
They've been rectified?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. We
So those-
gave some relief, but we didn't give the most recent relief that
I
he
didn't
asked
think we
for.
did.
Yeah.
That's right.
We
I
did the
remember
best we could. But this
correspondence.
is all brand new.
Right.
Although this is a different group, this Bill Fraser's known to us because he was working there for a long time,
He
a
was,
couple of years anyway.
he managed the whole business basically for the past 13 years.
Okay. I
Chris
didn't know he
is
was there.
retired
Chris is gone.
from
Retired.
this part of the business. He's
Okay.
just concentrating on his
Okay.
function and catering business
Okay.
now.
No problem. No further questions.
Okay, well, a motion is in order then, and we wish them well. Again,
I'd make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to award the food and beverage service for the Wallaston Recreational Facility for a period of 3-year time with 1-year option to the View Restaurant and Tavern as outlined in their proposal and they were signing this afternoon.
Second.
motion made and second. Is there any further discussion relative to the food and beverage service at the Wallaston Recreational Facility? This is a 3-year contract.
Right.
All in favor?
All right.
It is unanimous, 3-0, and we wish
Okay.
them well. And when we talk a little later to Colin Dana, we'll get the dates, but I somehow we figured out, I figured out that it goes by the sunshine. So thank you, Nancy. Do you have anything else for us?
Also, I'm just waiting to take that document back. That's all.
Oh, I'm gonna sign it, right?
Yes.
Okay. We don't wanna wait.
Two blues to sign. Yep. Those are done. All right.
Okay, that's for you, Nancy, and thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, back to the joint meeting. Do we have 3 members yet? I can't.
Bill, do we have 3 finance committee
We
members?
do not, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we're gonna keep going on the regular agenda, Elizabeth, if you don't mind, and that's okay.
We're ready, whenever you're ready.
Oh.
We'll wait for one more.
Oh,
Okay, I'd like to go to number 9. Phil is with us. It's the schedule of cost of service to court facilities for approval. This is our fiscal 21 figures. Phil, do you want to come in?
He's going to appear on Zoom.
Okay, Phil, you're on the Zoom.
Okay.
Look, here he is. Go ahead. This is a yearly arrangement, but Bill Iantosca is going to explain it to us.
Okay, so what we have here is the fiscal 2021 schedule of costs to service court facilities. And as everybody knows, this is a major source of revenue for the county, usually between, I'd say, 3.7 and 4.2 million dollars every year. What this is, it is the county fronts the costs to maintain the court facilities as far as custodians, supplies, insurances, so on and so forth. And we submit this right here called the Schedule of Costs to the Commonwealth for reimbursement. And once you folks approve it and sign the paper, there is an approval sheet somewhere that will need all 3 commissioners' signatures, plus the signature of the treasurer. Then I will send copies into the Commonwealth and they will schedule the audit of this submission of costs. And if you go through it, I'm pretty sure you received a copy. It's pretty self-explanatory. We have personnel costs, employee benefits, equipment, purchases and services of equipment, contractual services, repair and maintenance of buildings, repair and maintenance of land, housekeeping supplies, travel, insurance, utilities, annual debt service, and we are reimbursed administrative costs at $1 per square foot. Quite a bargain, if you ask me. And then we also have our capital improvement costs submitted here. And there's our total bottom line. This year, $3,747,816.65. And we also do a calculation of a dollar cost per square foot. And this year it's $24.82. I'm not up to date with the commercial real estate market, but I think that's a pretty good bargain. Right, so.
So a bargain for the Commonwealth.
A bargain for the Commonwealth, correct. Not, yes. I don't want to get myself in trouble. But so that's a thumbnail sketch of the schedule of costs.
How does this change from year to year? It's pretty consistent.
Well, this year is less because we did not have as much capital to submit. But one thing to note is the Superior Court Dome project. The Commonwealth directed us not to submit the entire project invoices, they're going to reimburse us on the debt service of it.
On
The debt service, the borrow.
okay, all right, as it goes then.
Right, because,
It's over 5, okay.
yeah, because we would have submitted this year like $500,000 worth of invoices, and they would have paid that, but they directed us to submit it over 10 years.
That's a cost of about $1 million.
Right.
But we're
Right.
doing it, we gotta do it.
I
I think it was,
Stage is up.
total was like 1.2 million.
So what's that come to us in terms of debt service, Bill? What do you mean? What's that mean?
Well, if you look at annual debt service,
Right,
which is schedule,
200, I see it. Which
yes,
is 200,000 roughly.
yes, yes. So we had the
So it's 6 years.
yeah, 1.271,
1.2.
that is the loan for the dome. That's all going
So
to
if
the
they've got
dome.
200,000.
So,
take
so
about
this
6
year,
years.
the principal on that was 91,500. Well, actually, this is for FY '21. So the principal was 91,500. Interest was 71,035 cents. And we get 100% of that back. So the adjusted total is 162,535. But we also have a second courthouse renovation loan that we're still paying off, and that loan was from 2013. And we're getting $40,000 of principal on that and $4,000 of interest for that total of 6,500.35.
No, my point is, Mr. Chairman, the Commonwealth makes out though.
Yeah.
It impacts our cash flow,
I'll change it.
right? We're putting that money out, we're getting less back, but it's spread out. All right.
I don't know what the remedy to that is though. I'm
Well,
looking to
I was gonna
open a
ask, I'm not
box
gonna put you on the spot.
No,
you're
no.
More veteran. How do these numbers, like
That's
you're
why I
talking
asked
about?
how it compares.
How are these numbers arrived at? Like you said, the administrative cost is $1 and other things. Is there any
Well, that comes from the
bargaining?
Commonwealth.
You can't bargain and negotiate or talk to anybody about these things?
We have a lease agreement with them that dates back to, I think, the mid '80s.
See what I'm saying? So we should look at that.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we? I mean, shouldn't we really be looking at that? Maybe, and I
possibly.
say it politely. No, a lot of things we had this, the handbook was 1987.
Mhm.
We need to look at these things and maybe negotiate and get a hold of our state delegation.
Well,
I mean,
after
you
the
know.
Abrams report, and I've mentioned in open session, I know that it's going to come up because get your arms around this reimbursement is tough.
Yeah,
But I'm not, I don't.
it might be worth it though. I mean, we're in danger.
Everything's on the table.
Right, yeah.
I'm not looking for trouble, but
No,
I know
I'm saying
you
what-
aren't either,
No.
the commissioner, but I mean,
So it is, bottom line, if that's a bargain,
Mhm.
if you compare.
Oh, it
real
is.
estate, that's incredible. So I'm
Mhm.
saying, maybe we're being shortchanged. No fault of yours,
Mhm.
but maybe we can do a little better.
Mhm.
That's all. I'm just wondering what the process is. I mean,
Mhm.
is there someone you talk to or somebody in DCAM, not DCAM, but must be somebody somewhere you
Right.
talk to and say, these numbers need to be looked at. That's all.
Maybe
Every little bit will help us. you
Mhm.
know? So, but thank you for that.
okay, any other questions of Phil? Relative to the fiscal 21 schedule of costs for service to court facilities.
And
This
this
is
is-
a yearly item with a
Yeah,
very
and
important item,
this is like fiscal 21.
the fiscal 21.
Right.
So we're always a year back, right? So
Pretty much.
Okay. Right. You want some motion on that?
Yeah, just a motion to approve.
Yeah. I make a motion, unless there's any questions. Peter?
No question.
All right. Make a motion, Mr. Chairman, for the board to approve the schedule of costs to service the courthouse facilities in fiscal 21 in the amount of $3,747,816.65. So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion, commissioners? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is 3-0. It is a vote.
How
Thank you.
how soon do we get those checks? We get that?
Oh, well, the audit, they will probably be auditing us, I'd say late between the end of May. I'm sorry, end of April, end of May. That's when the court will be in here to audit us. We should be getting our first check at they usually give the tail end of the fiscal year.
All right.
Like I'm talking like June 30,
Good to know.
right? Just before the.
And you keep track of that. You watch.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, they cut they're wired right to the treasury. And they notify us.
Good to know. Let's see if we can find out more though. That's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
You can sign that.
I think we did.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all set.
Thank you, yes.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, on the regular agenda of the commissioners meeting, the report on the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, Director Cronin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On this matter, I was withholding the one item the Commissioner Stady started to bring up, and I deferred if you'd like to bring it in.
No.
But certainly a rather significant development. As you may know, the revenue loss category within the American Rescue Plan Act was clarified by the Treasury on January 6, 2022. That clarification resulted in some unintended consequence to our cities and towns that were basically put at a disadvantage. We had a $10 million revenue loss benefit. We distributed it to them on a proposed population-based formula. We heard from many communities, including one large community, Braintree, that had an extraordinary impact as a result of this modified approach to revenue loss. Taking the cue from Braintree and some of our smaller communities, we appealed to our congressional delegation, who immediately took hold of the issue and started working on a proposal on behalf of the United States senators and representatives representing Norfolk County. And this past Monday, Ben Thomas from Senator Markey's office sent this letter on behalf of the congressional delegation to the Treasury. Mr. Thomas informs us that the letter was received and assigned for review by the Treasury. There's a sense of urgency within the letter. Braintree, for example, is facing some extreme financial pressures. Having spoken to the mayor a couple of times, he made it clear that he was looking for some relief on this matter by early March, at the earliest, because that's when he's got to deliver his budget. So we're hoping the Treasury has some consideration of our request, and specifically it would be to allow the communities within Norfolk County to each have the $10 million revenue loss option in the same way that communities in extinct counties have, to level the playing field of opportunity. That flexibility obviously has to be met by a couple of standards. Number one, we still run the program. We still approve those requests. And number two, any use of that benefit on the back end has to fit within the scope of the intent of ARPA. We don't want to award communities a certain amount of money for revenue loss, only to see them turn around and try to expend it on items that are not consistent with the ARPA intent. So we are hoping that there's some guardrails put around that intention by the Treasury when they release any such feedback to us, and we're hoping it will be soon. I'll report back as soon as we do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions? Any more questions?
That's great. Keep it up. Any chance we can get other counties to support that effort by Senator Markey? Did they reach out to anybody else?
I think they did, Commissioner. There's during the call yesterday, I mentioned Bristol was enthusiastic, and I think Barnstable had an interest in it. From what I could tell, speaking or corresponding with Ben, and Bill Buckley also had a lot to do with this, and I want to give him credit too. He was the main point of contact. I think Barnstable was heard from. Plymouth County had a whole different spin on this.
Sure
So they were heard from.
Yep.
And I think politely said their thinking was inconsistent with Norfolk County's thinking. So
Okay,
that's
that would
how it goes.
explain that. All right. Thank you. All right.
Okay.
Did you want, by the way, well, you got to talk to us later about a group meeting. We'll talk about that later.
The date of
Meeting with the others.
Well, we're going to wait. It was
Yeah.
slated for the first,
Right.
but it's looking like the first week in April. And I
Yeah.
wanted to add, Tom O'Brien said his commissioners do want this meeting. They're now feeling more compelled to meet with you folks in person and collaborate. They found some benefit from our prior meetings, and they think it's time to have another one.
Nice to be the leaders. Right. I'm set.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Until we have a quorum again of the advisory board, I'm going to keep moving here on our regular agenda. Report on COVID-19 response.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very briefly, for the benefit of anyone who's not following mainstream news, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention announced last Friday it is relaxing mask guidance for communities where hospitals aren't under high strain. Under the new guidance, nearly 70% of the United States population lives in an area considered to be low or medium risk. I want to point out Norfolk County is in a very low risk section of the Commonwealth right now. This county, your board has lifted the mask mandate. I just want to broadly state that we were in step, maybe a week or so ahead of the CDC's guidance of the same, as we start to see this particular part of our lifestyle under COVID fall by the wayside, at least for now. We'll remain vigilant. I'll report back with any incidences of COVID going forward. Thank you, sir.
Okay. There's one golf course related item that is not on the joint agenda, and it is Let me find it here. I'm sorry, I guess it's not. Everything else, we did take the contract of the food and
Right.
beverage up.
Yeah, we did the contract.
Do we,
We hired, there was a person hired.
Are you referring to the matter involving the rates, Commissioner?
yes,
That will be held when Mr. Minor and Mr. Smith come up to do their budget. Those will be
okay,
doing
I
both
can't
at the same time.
separate. I was gonna try to get that out of the way before.
You can if you'd like. If you'd like.
Well, that's a matter for, pretty yearly. Okay, I think there's no issue. We don't need, we're happy to have the advisory board listen to it, but we don't need to. So let's go and do that. You just gotta remind me where it is on the agenda.
It is number 3 under the joint meeting agenda.
But we're still not in a joint meeting.
All right, I'm not gonna call it then
Yeah.
until we go to the joint meeting.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna have to go to old business then. That's the only thing other than the report of the director on our regular meeting. But we're moving right along here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just an update, the latest hire for our facility maintenance department is slated for March 14th. He's currently clearing background and presuming everything goes okay, we should have him on board by the 14th. I already spoke about the fact that we held a multi-county meeting yesterday for about an hour to discuss ARPA. Very valuable call, all went well. Last week, Mr. Buckley and I, for separate reasons, found ourselves at the same event in Norwood. We were invited guests to help Norwood celebrate 150 years of being a organized town. It was a very nice celebration of a few hundred people, mostly Norwoodites, who appeared. And I just wanted to bring to your attention, I reached out to our advisory board member, who was one of the co-chairs, Helen Thomas, congratulated her on a job well done organizing the event.
Helen Donahue.
Helen Donahue, Helen
Right.
Thomas, she was a journalist, right? Something like that. But it was a very nice event held right up on Route 1. Overall, things were pretty good. I just also wanted to call attention. Today is the birthday of the town of Franklin, 244 years ago. This past week also saw the birthday of the town of Canton, which I believe is 225 years old. So many of our county communities have obviously been incorporated around this time of year. And we were doing some research looking at it and said, wow, there's a lot of history here in Massachusetts and certainly in Norfolk County. I already read that. And that is all I have at this time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Okay. If there's no objection, then I will go back to number 3, which is old business. Because we don't have a quorum of the advisory board yet, we can't do the budget. The subject is vacation carryover policy discussion. I'm going to start this portion of the meeting calling on Director Cronin for his input, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of weeks ago, I brought before the board a request to endorse a notice to non-union personnel, as I said to Mr. Folin. We're looking to notice non-union personnel the amount of time they have left before the end of this fiscal year to use time consistent with change in our employee handbook that was made last year. So 2 weeks ago, we were referring to Rule 3 within the 1987 handbook. Our assistant treasurer noticed that the language was inconsistent with his knowledge. So we withdrew, excuse me, and found that, in fact, there have been multiple changes to Rule 3. In 2016, former Accounting Director Frank Haggerty came before this commission and made a recommendation to purge all accumulated time off and carryover to the point where employees would have to reduce and eliminate all available backlog through fiscal 17, 18, and by fiscal 19 have 0 days to carry over. If I understood his memo from 2016 correctly. So that change was put in place at that time, and it stayed until April of 2021, when I believe the former County Director Mike Mullen, or through him, brought before the committee an interest in changing that mandate because COVID had impacted many of our employees who were unable to take vacation time, given the stresses and strains of the economy at the time. In April of 21, this committee voted to provide 2 things. Number one, an update to the Rule 3, and number 2, a guideline that employees would be able to carry over 15 days of vacation time. In May of 2021, we learned there was a follow-up meeting about a year ago, and there was clarification made on that April vote to provide relief for individuals who had large balances to use and carry over large balances into FY22. And as I think I mentioned, that guideline at the time stated that 15 vacation days had to be used by December 31st, 2021, and 10 more days had to be done by June 30th, 2022. So as we sit here today, I'm asking, or I'm informing the commissioners that we intend to send out a use lose report to effective non-union personnel, alerting them that they have until June 30th to use or lose the balance of their time. They may carry over up to 15 days, which is consistent with the intent of your meeting back in April of 2021. So that is my update, Mr. Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. In your packet, Commissioners, is some information from April of 21, April and May, and some letters from some of the people affected right up till today. One of them dated today from John McConnell. I'm going to open it up, but I'm going to say the following thing. In my 5 years or 5.5 years here as a commissioner, this subject has been growing and growing. Regardless of who the county director is or who sits on the commission, it's growing. Nobody, well, we all know what everyone's been faced with. The problem is, if we don't dig our heels in, there's no preparation for the cost of what costs we would incur if we don't use a great number these days. And until we stick to a policy, I think it's impossible to just keep kicking the can down the road. This is one subject. It's one thing to talk about the county book, and I'm happy it was. It's a 1987 book, but it's a perfect example. I'm not going to have the same thing happen, if possible, under this subject of unused vacation time, because it's a budget buster. It's got to be dealt with, and it isn't that we don't understand issues that are presented to us, but I know our lawyers involved, and I'm going to be cautious what I say, but I do want to get something definitive out of this today. I know this director has spent some time on it. I got to tell you, the last two did too, but the time has come to have a policy, and if it gets challenged or whatever, but we have an obligation here, and it's a growing obligation financially, and it scares me to death. And
You want comments now? You're gonna wait till later?
sure,
What do you want to do?
I opened it up, but now,
Yeah,
sure enough, as soon as I opened it up, they got a
just-
quorum,
yeah,
right?
I just
Of
thought
course. Huh?
How about if we suspend discussion
Okay,
and go back
I
and
kind of
present,
agree with you.
maybe come back? Obviously,
Well, this has got to stand on its own, and that's why I
Yeah,
didn't want to
it
take it
might
up
be-
until,
Yeah,
okay.
fair enough?
All right, we're going to, if there's no objection, we're going to suspend all business for now and go to what was at the beginning of our meeting, which is the joint meeting for budget purposes. We have our budget folks here with us today. So I'm going to turn the meeting back to Elizabeth Childs, who is the chairman of the Advisory Board Finance Committee. She's going to open her meeting and take a roll call. We already did it, and then we're going to go right into the budgets for the Wallaston Recreation Facility, the Engineering Department, Commissioner's Office, and the school.
All right.
Chairman Childs, good afternoon. Can we?
Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry for our delay. We're glad to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you
No,
for
we-
having us join
we-
you.
We got through a lot of business, but we've got more to go, but no, we're in no hurry.
Okay. So we are going to call our roll to join. You've already read the disclaimer, correct, Chairman Shea?
I have
around
read the disclaimer. You don't need to read it again.
All right, correct. So we will call our roll. Carl Balda, Eric Beckerman,
Here.
Paul Connors, Joe Reardon,
Here.
and Elizabeth Childs, the chair is here. We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much. We're glad to be part of this.
Okay, having said that, last week was our first week. We had a very important maintenance department in with us and we got started. I think I'm going to critique myself after looking at last week's tape in the meeting. And what I'd like to make changes today, a very tiny change, is I'm going to call these people up in the following order. We're going to have Walson in first. We're going to have engineering second, then miscellaneous, agricultural, school, and the commissioners. But I'd like to have the presenters go through their budget and keep questions till after they present. Then we'll open it up to commissioners and members of the board for any questions at all, and then take it from there. Again, it's just a matter of trying to keep us as orderly as we can. Again, anything can be asked. I do believe in a very open meeting, so it isn't a whole lot of a change, but I'm going to invite Carl and Dana up. Actually, Carl can sit in the big chair and Dana's right behind him. And we're going to open this up. This is Superintendent Carl Minor of our Walson Recreation Facility. I don't want to embarrass him, but I'm going to. How long have you been here, Carl?
26 years.
26 years. So I know he didn't start as superintendent, but Carl is our man and Dana is the assistant. And this is the department like all the others that are near and dear to us. So it's been a rocky couple of years, but we're going to open this up. And in addition to presenting their budget, we are going to talk about next year's rates and a few other subjects that are germane to the golf course. I'm going to turn it over to Carl. Thank you.
Commissioner. It is my pleasure to submit the FY 2023 budget for the Walson Recreation Facility
Which is here.
at President's Golf Course. The following are the highlights of that budget. Code 001-200-5110, temporary salaries, an increase of $10,000. And that's pretty much just to cover the increase in minimum wage. Code 001-200-5463, rental of equipment. That's a Greensmaster Triflex, a Workman GTX, a Sand Pro 2040Z, and that's only an increase of $356.79. Excuse me. Code 001-200-5490, miscellaneous charges, an increase of $10,000, and that's for credit card fees. Code 001-200-5709, land improvements. I am requesting $80,000 for course renovations, $15,000 for the cedar fence repair, and $9,000 for the recreational area benches. I look forward to discussing this. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I don't think I have a copy of that letter that Mr. Minor just read.
I'm sorry.
I have some rate changes. I have the budget. I don't have that letter that breaks out your request. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Probably sent it in last week's packet.
All right, let's ask a few questions that we can get out of the way. Carl, there's 6 full-time employees, correct? Everyone else is,
Correct.
what do we call them, seasonal,
Season. Yes.
which we just went through with the seasonal employees. Okay. We raised the minimum wage has gone up, so we recently did the paperwork to raise all our
Correct.
seasonal people.
Yes.
So it's, okay, and then we have a director, assistant director, golf pro, head clerk,
Thank you.
assistant superintendent, mechanic, and a groundskeeper, and
Yes.
the rest of them are seasonal. Okay, none of these people are in the union, correct?
Correct.
So they're subject to whatever we do after we finish the union negotiations. That's your experience?
Yes.
Okay. Go from there. Secondly, the part-time and the temporary help. Temporary salaries, 168, 148, 162. 221 was 225? Or is that the request? I'm sorry, its request is 235. On temporary employees, 110,
245.
245. Why don't I see that? I heard you say it, but I only see 235. Am I looking at the different? I'm looking at the ones that are highlighted in yellow. All right, well, let me ask you this. Did we spend 225 this year?
Yes, we will be.
It will come out to
Yes.
225. So it's 245, not 235.
Yes, it's 245, and we will be stretching it with this budget this year.
Okay. And overtime was 19,900 in 19, well, that's 2 years ago. It's 25,000 last year.
Yes,
You're not asking for any more overtime, it's just,
I am not.
okay. And then the longevity is set by years of service for the career employees, it's $4,800. So that's, all this is, most of this is given. So 717, and I might be 10 grand off, so let's say seven. So we're looking at 720, is this correct, Director? 727,000 roughly, if I'm off on the temporary, I think, by 10,000.
The total salaries are 7.
I'm looking at 717, but that's only 235 for
Right,
temporary. Again,
because-
that's what he's asking for.
Because the amount shown here is inconsistent with his request, which is 245. So if you add the 10,000.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, that's what I was getting at. So we're in the ballpark of 727,000. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, if I asked you, Director Cronin, and I know the whole year is, how does that, how much of an increase is that over last year?
Based on what.
I bet Eric has it, but.
Yeah, there is a minimal increase. And again, these are absent any COLAs. So
Right.
when you look at it, apples to apples is virtually identical to last
All
year.
right, in any one of these budgets, folks, there's no money for union employees or any other employee. Until we settle,
But
until we just give it
salaries.
salaries in the salary line.
Right.
It's
None of
just,
them have that, right?
no, they do not. Okay. You see this 2021 figure of 693,000? That's 2 years ago, correct?
Mhm.
So last year is somewhere between 693 and 727. We're in it, so it's not complete.
Correct. The total salaries budgeted in FY 22 were 452,000 for salaries and 235 for temp salaries. We don't have the final expenditures yet.
I understand that. I was just trying to get a handle on how much more 727, 724 than what we think this year is going to come in at, but it's impossible, I guess, to do. It might be in a couple more months, but okay, all right.
For that comparison.
Now, looking at, and Carl's bullet points here, the four of them reflect this, so to speak. And we're talking about at 5709, 80,000 for course renovations, 15,000 for a cedar fence, and 9,000 for recreation area benches, which are very much needed. How much did we put in last year on land improvements, Carl? Was that also
It was
80,000?
60,000.
It was 60.
Yes,
Did we spend it all? We
And more.
passed
and more.
and more.
Yep.
That's the work that Fulsham company's done. And
No, that's the work that Bowditch is
okay,
doing right now.
now what about the work that Fulsham is doing on, or has done
It's,
on the stairs, et cetera?
that's not my budget.
That
Oh,
was supplemental.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, I don't want to bother you with it. You'll take all of that money we can give you.
That's right.
Okay, all right, okay, that's a very good point. I'm sorry.
How the stairs coming along?
They're done.
Okay, how they come out?
They came great. Very good. They just have to put the handrail in.
Before we
Do that
start,
soon.
yeah.
Gotta get down there eventually, but we'll see it. Is 5709 a capital item, or is that gonna be handled as a capital request?
I think 5709 is the money we put in every year, like when he rebuilds the tee box or getting better at this, and he tries to keep one or two of them being done every year on certain stairs, or whatever, not stairs, I don't want to say stairs, we did that. When we did the tennis courts, the last go around, did we take it out of 5709, or did we give you that
Yes.
separate?
Yes.
No, it came out of this. So it's, if we do, and when we do, and I think we're committed to it, playground equipment, I know Bill Buckley knows a lot about this. We're gonna try to replace the playground equipment. Is that in this figure?
It's
No.
not.
It's not.
That was
It's
some, that was
It
a
comes
sup-
from us.
it was previously approved by the
Okay.
advisory board as a
That's good.
supplemental.
That's good.
So
Okay.
we're sitting on that. We're
All right.
hoping for a match by the state to
Right.
enrich the money. Yep.
So we are, it's safe to say we're gonna improve the playground, and we're gonna.
Correct. It is
Okay.
safe to say that. The question is what's the scope? Is it what we've appropriated, or can we get something out of the legislature this spring? That's what we're targeting.
Okay, I'm gonna open this up. Advisory board members and commissioners, any questions of Carl about his budget?
Mr. Chair, and through you to Mr. Minor.
Go ahead. Is that Mr. Reardon?
That is most certainly Mr. Reardon, Mr.
Who
Minor,
lives-
and
Who I must say, of all of our team, lives closest to the golf course than anyone else, closer than I do.
I would like to remind our friends from the Wallaston Recreation Facility that, however, the liquor license is in Quincy. The majority of, and Carl, I see you there right now, the majority of the expanse itself is in Milton. Is that not true?
That's correct.
Thank you. But that's not my point. My point is, Carl, to you.
He gotta make that point.
Keep the motion.
It is what it is. Mr. Phelan and I from the advisory board may have disagreements on that. However, Mr. Folsham, who you have engaged, is not, if I remember correctly, is not only a vendor, but is a graduate of the Aggie. Is that correct?
I believe it is. I know he does a
I'm
lot.
not asking, I'm telling. John Folsham is a graduate of the Aggie.
Okay.
And I think it's a great opportunity for us to recognize the significance of the Aggie culture in the county, and the fact that, they do great work and it continues through the golf course.
Mr. Folsham came through the public process, but I do know that he had done a ton of work in the South Shore, cemetery work, wall work, a myriad of things. And we've expanded our vendors by having him do some work. And he also was the winning bidder, which is very important, but it appears that the work looks great. I looked at it a couple of weeks ago, but we sure could, when our ship comes in, we could do a lot more than we're doing, but we got the new signage in.
Oh, it's tremendous. I just wanted to highlight that for Carl and for Dana, knowing that John is a graduate of the Aggie, a North Quincy kid. He's done very well. Just an example of how the Aggie can really push people along.
Reason to approve. I can go on the record to tell you that the city of Quincy's asked about the playground equipment and asked about a couple of other things that, without giving the store away, I said we would do. And as in partnership with them, you'll notice there was a lot of water and sewer work done on the street, which is a public way coming in. I believe it's Evans Street. And I got the mayor to promise a new street and sidewalk when after they're through putting in all the improvements, so that we won't dig up a new street. So you're going to see a whole new look coming in the front. I would hope before September or October during the season, and it's on the list, so to speak. So I think if we can get the playground done, get ready to have it open, we can probably get a new street to coincide with it. They need a street anyway, particularly the folks that live on that street, but it is our entranceway. And last year, the mayor said he couldn't do it until he put in the new sewer because he didn't want to dig it up again, and the new sewer is in, so we're looking to the city to help us out, and then we'll go from there. I've had one question, and I don't know what the answer is, but in the rear of the property on Granite Street in Milton, there's an old sign that's dilapidated, if not half down. did we order a new sign there or
Yes, we did.
is it coming? Because the old one needs to come down and be destroyed. And then I think we can put a request into the sheriff's department and hopefully clean that whole runway there as you go on to the expressway. So we can clean that up this year too. But I didn't know if we bought and paid for the sign. It just hasn't come. Or
It just hasn't come. I think we're waiting on the state approval for the
okay.
pole.
Yeah, there was a state problem on
Okay.
that. State
All
approval.
right. I think.
State highway, Kyle, right?
Yes, it's state
Okay,
highway.
and I believe that the town of Milton is going to work with us on that. Okay, I'll double back on that since it's spring and if we could get all this done, it would be really good. Okay,
Is the sign gonna be golf ball proof?
No.
Gotta look at.
Depends on who's hitting them.
okay, it is our intention today to ask questions and take everything under advisement. So I open it up for questions if there's any more before we go to rates and what we're going to do this year. Let's ask them now. Commissioner Stady.
Just to be consistent through you, Mr. Chairman, and with Director Cronin, was there any reflection of any kind of opera recommendations on your facility that you maybe incorporated or had to incorporate or wanted to incorporate? No, not opera, excuse me, Abraham report, the Abraham.
Oh,
report.
the Abraham
Yeah,
report.
that's not.
We have
Sorry,
some comments on that.
sorry about that. I meant Abraham report.
Well, he had suggested that the $80,000 for course renovation was a good number.
That was his suggestion. That's what I wanted to see. Great. That was all I had.
Okay, that was in the Abraham report, right?
Right, that's what I was asking.
Okay,
Right.
good point.
Is it possible for us, as an aside, to have the Abraham, this is a great booklet, I greatly appreciate this, but maybe have the Abraham report as part of it or something included?
Yeah, would you like the
Oh, that.
report or the cheat sheet?
That's it, that's what I was looking
You,
for.
you want, yeah,
I'll
we can
bring
add
it, I'll
that.
just bring it and stick it in, that's all. I've
Got
got
mine
it.
today?
That'd be great if you have it.
That's my copy.
You don't mind? Thank you. That'd be great, thank you. Okay, excellent. No further questions on my end, I'm fine.
Okay. Advisory board members, do you have any questions of Carl and Dana? Okay, I'm going to ask that we go to the second part of the golf course, which is on our agenda, which is
Sure, real quick, if I could.
I'm sorry, Director Cronin.
Mark Abrahams did bring up one recommendation, which was to look at the golf course as an enterprise fund. They do generate revenue, and an enterprise fund would be to collect and expend what is taken in, effectively taking them off the books. I personally don't support that notion, but I will tell you that based on FY22 revenues to date, it appears as though the course is virtually solvent. It takes in as much as it spends. That was not the case in FY20, right, Dana, because of the COVID?
Yeah.
But they do appear to have a decent FY22 revenue collection rate, which is nice to see for an organization that might actually turn a slight surplus going forward. So it mimics the enterprise fund, but I personally don't support the enterprise fund.
So it takes, I'm sorry,
I'm sorry, what?
can I follow up on that?
Yes.
Yeah, just, so I want to make sure I'm clear on that. So that would take it off the books more or less.
Yes.
Run itself, like a typical
Correct.
revolving account. Why not just support it? Okay.
Because I think the idea of an enterprise fund is limiting. From the golf course operations perspective, for example, an enterprise fund would have to pay for all its capital projects, and they couldn't. There's no reasonable expectation at this point that they could cover the capital investment the course needs on an annual basis. And second of all, when it comes to surpluses, typically there are some other off costs that the county should make use of through additional revenues gained above expenses.
Fair enough.
Okay, folks, I'm going to ask that we go to the section here that talks about the President's Golf Course annual rate discussion. While they're here, each year we establish, I guess it's fees mainly, rates, annual rates of fees, and we discuss and go back and forth. Then the commissioner's vote is required. I can't see any reason why, after we discuss it with everyone. There's a memo here dated February 22nd from Carl, and I'm going to turn it back to Carl. And this is his recommendation for the policy for this season for subscriptions. and increases in other rates. Go ahead, Carl.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please find my recommendation for the policy of season subscriptions and increases in senior rates as well as the civic rate. During the 2021 golf season, we did not sell any additional subscriptions because the subscriber rounds were up 30% the year before. This left little room for daily fee golf. We currently have 146 subscribers. It is my recommendation to cap the number at 160 subscribers for the 2022 golf season. One of the recommendations from the Abrams Group is to remain competitive with neighboring courses. The senior rates should be examined. Braintree charges $38, South Shore $37. I recommend raising the senior rate to $35 and the senior Monday through Friday subscriber rate $100 to $1,000. I also recommend raising the civic rate to $40 weekday and $50 weekend, a $5 discount from the daily fee.
Okay. Let's take this one at a time. And I had a lot of discussion with Carl last year because I knew we shut off subscribers because my phone was ringing and everybody wanted all of a sudden to be a member of a great course. And Carl told me that, we were maxed out. Everyone else had stopped it. We also have an obligation, and this is my words, not Carl's, but this is the way he explained it, I think. We have an obligation to the daily, to the public. And if we had all subscribers, we wouldn't have any room for the public, so to speak. So we try to balance it the best we can. So your recommendation is 160.
Yes.
That's 14 more people. That's pretty straightforward. I don't think you're gonna have any trouble filling that.
No, we won't.
Do we have any questions about the subscribers numbers? We're gonna let that go to up 14, but it'll probably be filled tomorrow or the next day based on the calls that I got last year. Okay. Number 2 item. The senior rate should be examined. Braintree charges 38, South Shore 37. You want to raise the senior rate to 35, right?
Correct.
What is it? What was it last year?
30.
And it's still cheaper than Braintree and South Shore.
Yes.
Let me ask the Quincy question. What is Furnace Brooks?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, I don't know either. For our listening public and our advisory board, the city of Quincy has acquired a 9-hole golf course that's 100 years old, like our golf course, called Furnace Brook. It's a fixture very close by us. It's a 9-hole golf course. It's going to be run by the city of Quincy Recreation Department, which is a good department. And the mayor has funded it in this year's budget to the tune of, I don't want to go on the record, but he gave them a lot of money to make some improvements, get up and running. I think competition is a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. As a resident of Quincy, I think most people support keeping it as a golf course. If I knew that figure, it would help me better. I probably should have found out today, but I'm not sure they know what it is.
I'm looking now, Commissioner.
Dana's going to look now, but that's in play. I don't think it's I don't think that, and I don't want to speak for Carl and Dana, but I think it's a good thing for us. I don't think it's a bad thing. And I'm not a golfer, so. Okay, so we're talking about going up $5 in the senior figure. What do you think about that, commissioners? We're going to take one vote on this at the end, but if you have any discussion or anyone on the advisory board wants to discuss it. Okay. Yes.
So I have a request to Carl, if I could, through you. Carl, as you propose these new rates, would you be so kind as to send along an estimate of how those rates feed into your total recreational receipts that you would project for fiscal year 23? Carrying a level amount of $1,350,162 right now, and I suspect that if the commissioners endorse these rates, there'll be some corresponding impact. So if you could give me that number, that would be great.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cushing. Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so I understand the senior rate. Monday through Thursday subscriber rate from $100 up $100 to $1,000. Explain that to me. subscriber rate is what? Monday through Thursday subscriber rate.
Correct.
Who's that?
Those are the seniors.
That's what?
Monday through Thursday, senior rate. They can play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Okay.
and not the weekend, which is Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And you pay it all at once?
All at once.
You pay $1,000 a year, you can come and go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Do we understand that?
What are the other, can we get comps? What are the other courses have? Do they have? Do they
I don't
have-
have a comp for that.
You don't have a comp for that? Seems like a-
Carl, is informational.
Yeah, yeah. You want to go over that?
Yeah, I scoured their website and I've looked at every nook and cranny of it and I can't see.
No,
any rates
yeah, I don't
posted.
think it's gonna affect our decision
Yeah.
today. I just, we're, today's golf course day, I want to get everything out and on the table, that's all. This is our.
All right, swiftly,
Sure, Dana, go ahead.
commissioners and Cronin. Just a basic thing, we kind of just went through it. With weather and tournaments and stuff, we used about a 30-week window to throwing March out, even throwing November out, and even into December, just in case of weather. And there are tournaments during the weeks that do exclude them from playing. In particular, the senior Monday through Thursday, if they played 2 days per week the come as you pay rate of, that would be $70 times 30 weeks is $2,100.
Okay,
So that's kind of off the street rate.
that's a good comparison.
Yeah, so we just tried to figure out, it's been fairly consistent in the discounting process. You are still giving a significant senior discount. I know we'll get a little, we'll just call it feedback, not complaints, but that's just one way to look at that. And that's just playing 2 days a week, which I'd say is about the average,
Okay,
And then we did a breakdown of each category, just to give you an example. And can express some comments on that. If you wanted any more, just let me know.
so, okay. The next category is the civic rate. Now, to $40 weekday and $50 weekend. That's a $5 discount.
Correct. The
Go ahead.
civic rate is, are the terms that, ask for the discount. And they get approved by the commissioners.
Right, they go through here. I rattle them on. The only time I ever show up, it's you talking, right.
Right. And in the past rate hikes, we've never increased that fee. So this is just going along with what we've done in the past.
Okay,
We missed a hike in one of the rate hikes. So this is catching it up to what it was,
okay.
what it used to be. $4 to $5 discount was what it always was.
Okay,
Thank you, Michelle, for this.
What's the,
I saw this.
I'm trying to process that
It's the winter rate.
$1,000 fee.
That I saw, but I didn't see the bill.
all right, I'm gonna open
That's
this
just
up.
the-
Go ahead,
that's just
Commissioner
the winter
Staley.
rates, though.
Right,
That's
so-
not-
Well, the-
Oh, okay.
That's not the seasonal rates coming up, okay?
What would you say for you, Mr. Chairman, to count? What's your typical season? 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 20 weeks, on the average, roughly?
No, I mean, averagely about 35 weeks, maybe,
Oh, really, that many?
we open March 10th, weather permitting. We're not always going to make that target date. We're early, we're late, Mother Nature decides. So in November, you get daylight savings the first week of November. So we try to also, there's weeks, we have 3 tournaments in a week and they'll miss 2 days. We try to break that down and say that it's probably a 30-week season in time, just to get the math right. You know what I mean? But if you have a Monday through Thursday membership, it's not closed, but they play in the morning. So if you have an outing in the morning on Monday, they can't play. Then you do an outing that Wednesday and they can't play or whatever. So we averaged it out at about 30 weeks just to kind of get the math right. Throw some weather rainy days in there, throw some tournament days where they can't play. But the season would stretch, from say March, I would say, Carl, like a March 20th average, 25th average.
Yes.
Average to December 1st, which would be more like, quickly do it, 30, 34, 35 weeks or so a season can last. But there's days, if you have a Monday through Thursday membership and we have an outing on Monday morning, goes right into league play and they can't quote unquote play that day. So I try to average that in as well. there are days. So if you'd really kind of take that out, throw a couple of rainstorms in there, for 30 weeks. And as you can see, it's still a good deal for the senior.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
That's all you helped me right there.
And
I'm trying to
they
figure
play
out,
and they
take the
play
number
the
of
full
days times the rate you got, but multiply it by 10, it's not much of a bargain. But by 20 or 30 weeks, it becomes more, you know,
Oh, easily.
more
yeah.
feasible. So, okay. That's what
Easily
I'm trying
30
to figure
week
out.
season for most golf.
Okay. Okay.
They join because they're hardy golfers.
Yeah, I got it. I'm with you.
On the, your term for it is the civic rate. I call it a charitable rate, but civic rate's when we've been, what, you try to make them on what afternoons, correct? Or does it matter? Certain days, so you know, how do you handle booking them?
It's not advertised. It's just as people know.
Right.
Some people know about it. some
I
people
saw a
don't.
list
I
somewhere. Did
don't.
you send a list over of the people
No.
that have been involved with you over the years? Oh, no, I saw it in an old report of the advisory board. Okay. So you have your regulars and then do you limit it? If all of a sudden you got 20 more requests, you couldn't handle them, right? If you got 20 more requests for charitable tournaments, you wouldn't be able to handle them.
No, we do. I've decided to just kind of to try to make everybody happy, which is difficult in its own right. But
Right.
we do the same amount of outings each year. If I lose one, I throw one in.
Okay.
And we do sometimes go over that a little bit because again, you've got to keep the subscribers happy, the league's happy, the public play happy, the association's happy.
I know.
Everybody's happy. You know what I mean?
I know by my calls, I can tell.
Yes.
Now, what about,
I will see.
but are they at a certain time of the day so that the regulars can have their morning? Are they in the afternoon or is it?
It does vary. You know, we have a lot of doubles on Fridays, which we've always done. Usually it's a Monday morning. Most of them are mornings. There are some Friday afternoon outings in
Okay.
there as well. And like Quincy Youth Arena historically is a Wednesday afternoon, which is kind of random. We don't really do Wednesday. We do a Wednesday morning one with retired iron workers, but generally they're Monday or Friday, generally speaking. And that's consistent without public golf in the area.
Now, these so-called leagues like Elks, Knights of Columbus, I think it's one now because I'm a member, particularly the Elks, some other same old people been going for years. How would they handle it? There's a group of Bill O'Connell and just people from Manchester.
That's the Tuesday night one, yeah.
Yeah, that's the Thursday night.
That's Tuesday.
Tuesday,
Yeah.
and there's another one on Thursday.
We have, technically speaking with the associations, we have 12 leagues, actually.
Okay.
We have
what
10,
are they, all right.
like 10 Monday through Friday.
And what rate do these leagues get?
They pay the twilight rate, which is actually more than the 9-hole rate. They actually say the 9-hole rate's 25, they pay $28.
Okay.
And we never had a 9-hole rate, and it was a frequent complaint. When we instituted it, it stopped at 2:00. The league started at 3. Okay?
Okay.
When confronted about that, we said, you don't have to worry about booking your tee time every week. So they get a block tee every single week. That's worth something. So that's how that was kept in.
Believe me, I leave that up to you.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
for
It's going way back too.
Just for the record, Michelle downloaded the rates they're out today on Furnace Brook. It's $25 pretty much every day. I can see here, holiday Saturdays.
I
For 9
I
holes.
can't thank Michelle enough for jumping in on that, but I believe that's just the winter rates that I saw that. I don't see the,
Okay, but
like
that's something to go by. So I'll throw that in
Yeah.
our files. And as of now, it says, how much does it cost to golf at the Furnace Brook Golf Club? At the Furnace Brook Golf Course, it costs $25 to golf 7 days a week. That's a 9-hole course.
9-hole course.
So and I'm not intimidated. God bless Furnace Brook, as I say. Okay. Any other questions about the annual rate at the golf course or the budget, which I'm going to hope we're going to take under consideration today for further review? I would like to get a vote from the commissioners today on the annual rate discussion because you got to publish this and let everyone know.
I would move, Mr. Chairman, that we adopt the rates recommended by Director Minor for this season as outlined in this memo to us.
February 22nd.
Right.
Second.
Any further discussion on adopting the rates? A motion made and seconded to adopt the rates outlined and described to us today by Director Minor and our golf pro, Dana Smith, for the upcoming golf season, which will be 2022. All in favor?
Aye.
On the 2021 getting first crack.
It is adopted. Question, go ahead, I'm back in discussion.
Is something wrong?
No, I think 2021 still getting the first crack, the one who joined.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
22, the people, this is consistent with every golf course in our area. The people who did join in 2021 get the first crack to.
Out of the 160, and then if
Yeah.
there's openings, you fill them in
Yes, sir.
the way you fill them.
Consistent with every other golf.
Keep
course
it
that-
down in your office.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's not for us to, that's,
right,
it's your business.
Dick,
That's-
believe me.
We're just voting the rates today. That's all we're doing.
Right,
Okay, yeah.
right.
You know.
Okay, unless you have any further questions
Good show.
for Carl and Dana, we're going to take their budget under advisement. We hope we've had some improvements there. We're going to promise to make more. And we'll take it from there. And this concludes the matter of the golf course budget for today.
Could we take a 2-minute break? I just want to get a drink of water.
Okay. We're going to be on a 1-minute break before we go to the engineering department.
Hurry up, Pete.
Thank you.
I bring a bomb with so we got budgets next week.
But I try to,
So probably when the weather gets extra in April,
in your
I'd love to come by. I'd love to. You know, I want to see the stairs and the whole thing, okay? I appreciate it. I do.
Yeah.
Good work.
way back.
Make sure you know I'm not ignoring you.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I actually.
That's it.
Back on the record,
Oh, Dick, before we sit down, one quick question for you outside. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
but we can go back on the record anyway. Go ahead. We're back on the record on a joint meeting of the commissioners and the Norfolk County Advisory Board. Under item number 3 of the joint meeting we are reviewing budgets today as part of our fiscal 23 budget presentation. We just heard from the Wallaston Recreation Facility. We're now going to hear from the engineering department, and we have our county surveyor with us, Patrick Higgins, who today is his first budget with us as department head. Patrick is a former employee who left us and saw the light and came back now as the department head. So welcome, Patrick. And I'm going to open it to you to present your budget.
Thank you, Chairman Shea. Good afternoon, Commissioners, Advisory Board members, and Director Cronin. Representing the Engineering Department, I'm pleased to present the County Engineering Department FY23 budget. The first increase in the cover letter that I sent is related to line item 5100 permanent salaries, and it is related directly to the, I believe, to the Abrahams report, and that we were charged with increasing services. In response to the Abrahams report last summer, I made up a schematic flow chart of how I saw the growth of the department in the next 2 years to be able to increase our capacity to service the towns in the communities in the county. This year, we were able to hire somebody on in FY22 as a crew chief. So we have one crew chief. And I propose next year to add a second crew chief. And that will give us one senior crew chief and 2 senior crew chiefs if we were to move ahead and this was approved. And that would give me 3 personnel that their primary workflow would be in the field. And that would keep the wheels moving on the projects. Currently, it's myself in the office. I have a senior project manager and a project manager. And having the 2 project managers will allow them to each oversee 2 of the survey crew chiefs working on separate projects. And I can have the senior crew chief float between the 2. And although we can work independently, like off of roadways, like in parks and in the wooded areas, primarily, I intend to always have 2 people when we're working on roadways, just so we have eyes on each other and not working independent in traffic and things like that. It's a safety concern, so to speak. So that brings me to line item 5100 permanent salaries. This year, there was a permanent salaries reserve for 115,000. Of that, we hired a survey crew chief for just over $55,000. And then there's a remainder that is unused of 59,960, I believe. So when you see the increase in the salaries for FY23, it's only about $14,000, and that's due to the fact that there's money left over in the permanent salaries reserve from last year that we haven't expended. But I'm proposing to increase the FY23 permanent salaries to $520,313.13 for the addition of a survey crew chief. At this time, I would prefer in the schematic flow chart to keep the assistant county surveyor position vacant and unfunded, but I want to keep it in as a hold for future possibilities. As we increase workflow, and if the money is available, that would be a position that would really assist me in the office. So the next line item change was code 5219.02. Last year, I believe that the miscellaneous communication services were moved to the capital budget. And I'd like to return the $8,000 back to the operating budget. The communication services is actually how we pay our bills for the cellular and the digital plans that we have between Verizon and AT&T. And I pay those both bills monthly as I receive them. And we're going to remove it from the 5,000.04 capital budget. And I propose to move it back into 5219.02. The next change, or slight increase in the budget, is in line 5239.00, miscellaneous professional and technical. I had transferred $2,000 previously. If you look on the line item, it looks like that it's a decrease, but it's actually a increase in cost. I had to previously transfer $2,000 this year from line item 52.00. So the next line item is 5241, education of employees. I'm proposing to increase from $10,000 in FY22 to $12,000 in FY23. This is due to adding on additional employees, and we're increasing educational costs related to college courses, seminars, safety training, MBCR, HEOLIS, roadway protection training, and HAZWOP training. So that's a slight increase to continue training for all employees. On line item 5252, title searches, I had previously transferred funds out of there that I mentioned earlier in 5239. And when you look at the line item in the budget, it looks like this current year it was only $1,000, but I had transferred $2,000 out, so I'd like to keep that level funded. And then 5393 employee uniforms, I'm requesting to increase it from $2,000 in FY22 to $3,000 in FY23 due to collective bargaining agreement, Article 16, clothing allowances per employee, and with the proposed addition, with the addition of employee this year and the proposed number of employee next year, that's that increase. And then the last one is 5421, associations and societies. All the members are enrolled as members of Massachusetts Association of Land Surveyors and Civil Engineers and the County Surveyors Association. And this allows us to attend training seminars and educational seminars at a discounted rate, and allows for online access to training information online because we're members. Capital. And I noticed that it was brought to my attention that I had a couple of the current proposed. Well, let me see. So the total increase in my budget for salaries was to $520,000, 313 cents. And then the increase in line items for operating budget was the total was $138,950, which is so the line items increases $5,300, and I believe the salaries is about 14,000. And so my total budget between the salaries and my line items that are proposed is $665,150.13. And that's a slight increase of 2.84% from last year, I believe.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Now, based on a year ago, we've added one person,
Yes.
survey crew chief, Patrick, 17-1.
Yep.
Okay, so that, and you're saying that in your chart here, you want to keep the second position open. We're still in a search, so to speak, and we're going to fund it, but not the other survey crew chief at this time. Or is it vice versa?
Vice versa, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
so we're still looking for a survey crew chief, which is,
The one on the right, FY23.
I see it,
Yep.
and you, although we have a number 2 position, it remains vacant at this point.
Yes.
So when you get a survey crew chief, would be 2 people back to where we used to.
Operationally,
We want to be.
Yes, I think I'd like to run, once we get to that capacity, then we can see how the wheels are running. And my intention is not to go back to where we were 10 or 15 years ago. My intention is to run the department a little bit more nimbly with a smaller crew. Technology has given us some advances. And I think we would just have to, when we reach out and support the towns, we used to do extremely large surveys at one time. And my goal is to modify the size of the projects that we do so that we can handle the scope and be able to do more projects in more towns as opposed to one large project in one town that would encompass 6 to 8 months. I'd rather do smaller projects and visit more towns in the county. That would be the goal from my end, for my plan. In the projects that vary, different towns come in with different requests, and they could require 2 to 3 people to work on them, or it could require 1 person.
Right. Are we still doing kind of a large, I don't know if it's large, I don't know the right terms for engineering. Is we're still doing the project in Brookline?
No.
No?
No, they outsourced that.
Okay, okay. But we're doing, the most recent one was what, Sharon? Well, I see them come in here. Okay. Okay, any questions of Patrick? I'm going to open it up.
I'd like to say something, and you didn't really touch on it so much, but I've seen different people come in to report on the county engineering department over the years, and what I've seen is that one person can make a huge difference in the amount of work you can get done because you need so many people on the team. That's been explained to me over the years. So, so is that your goal to try to get that perfect number in your group so you can send out so many teams all over the place?
Yes. So one other update would be we were approved to buy a van. We've had difficulty to do that due to the shortage of vans and
Only the van.
yeah. So we're working on that, and the new state bid list came out, but the vans are a scarcity. So my goal is not to remove the older van out of circulation. I want to maintain that, so I have 3 vehicles, and that with the 3 survey crew chiefs, I can have them all either operational, or if one of them has to be serviced, I have 2 that are still operational. I can still send 2 vans out. So it's a slight change in direction, I think, from where things were maybe a year ago when they're going to just outright replace the van. I think it's critical to have the backup van or as a third vehicle, a backup or a third vehicle. And that would allow office staff to go out and meet with town officials in a county vehicle and also add to field work if we had to. So, at times the office guys would love to get out in the field but add to the effort in the field. So I think that's going to be the number for me that, and after this, I'd like to see how we run as a department, how we can, if what we can handle the requests that the towns are submitting.
Commissioner Stady.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. So again, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So you have already funded a second in command person, but you're choosing to leave it vacant. You're leaving it vacant.
Yep.
Right? Is that included in your funding?
I don't believe so. They put a reserve in for 115,000 last year. I believe that was for me to decide last summer which position I wanted to fill, to either hire an assistant or hire a crew chief. So I needed field personnel, so I hired a crew chief.
That was Chris Perry. Mr. Perry?
No, it's the vacant FY.
Right here.
Yes.
So there's somebody in there then?
Yes.
Why does it say vacant?
That was from last summer. When I
Oh,
submitted-
okay.
I said it was
That's what I was
before.
trying to figure out.
No,
Okay.
yes, I used that.
All
That
right.
was
Oh, so someone's
that
in-
was response to the Abraham's
All right.
report last
So all
summer.
you're looking to do is add in this year's budget.
Yes.
Another survey crew chief.
Yes.
That person. And you can
Feet on the
accomplish,
ground.
you can accomplish that with only a $14,000 increase in your budget?
From last year due to unexpended reserve. It's
He's giving some money back.
That's what I thought. Okay. All right, that's fine.
We like that.
Okay, I like that. Yep, that's what I wanted to make sure I understood that. Okay,
Joe Reardon, you have a question?
great job.
No? Any questions of the county surveyor, Patrick Higgins?
No, all good. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Great job.
We're good. Thank you so much. It was a
Yeah,
wonderful presentation.
We,
Yes, excellent job.
Thank you.
we're very happy. We made some promises last year and Patrick's leading the way and helping us keep them and we feel pretty good. I mean, we gotta crunch these numbers, but they appear to be in order. I'm pretty, he best knows where this department should be and I think there is room for a little more growth, but we were down to, who we as low as 3 people for a while.
Yeah, watch it. Yeah,
And now we're at 5 and we can hopefully get to 6 this year.
good.
That's double and
Yeah.
the service they put out is a tremendous product compared to the cost to the taxpayers, which is where we like to keep it. So when I was looking at other areas to save money and the thought of not having an engineering department went through my head, I have to be honest, 4 or 5 years ago. But after I went to a few meetings, I quietly decided not to bring that up in talking to members of the advisory board and various selectmen and people around. So I won't be bringing that up at all. But there's always room for improvement. But I'm very happy. I think the commissioners are.
You get a lot of nice comments
Right.
from different
Right.
boards and different people who work with you too. It's always professional, courteous, and responsive. So keep doing your good work and it's a good reflection on all of us.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I just want to express how pleased I am to be working in a department that has such a qualified team, a group there, Mike Jarden, Robert Forrest, Chris Perry, and that new addition, Patrick Rockwell has already signed up. He's taken an online class at UMaine and jumped, right into the full survey training. So it's we have a good set of personality, all hardworking individuals. So I think it's a really good team that I was able to.
Okay, we've come a long way. Any other questions? I don't want to hurry, but I don't want to drag it either. We have 2 or 3 others we're going to do this afternoon. Okay, is there anything else we need right now, Patrick? I know you listen to every meeting or come to every meeting, so you're up to date on everything.
I'll work collaboratively with Director Cronin to address any issues that are in the budget that we need to fine tune.
And everyone is in the union except you.
Yes.
Correct, okay. I understand that.
Patrick Rockwell is in his
Well,
first 6 months.
It's a union position.
Yeah,
after
eventually. Yeah.
Probation period, whatever it is, yeah. Okay. Any other, last call on the engineering department?
Thank you,
Okay,
Commissioner.
thank you.
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Next is commissioners. And are you going to do office miscellaneous plus RSVP?
I am.
Okay.
Yep.
Director Cronin is going to make a presentation of the commissioner's budget and the RSVP department and the miscellaneous category. Then we'll get to the school folks.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Go ahead.
Shea. Thank you, Commissioner Shea. Overall, the Commissioner's budget proposal for FY '23 will be maintained at the level we experienced in FY '22 with a couple of changes, which I'll announce. Under the personnel line, I'd first like to call attention to my request to correct the salary of the Human Resources Director from $83,436 up to a proposed level of $100,000 for FY23. This particular salary is in line with market costs for the Human Resources Director. We've done some salary comparisons of other public institutions that can justify that level of pay increase. And frankly, it's on the lower end of HR directors. If any members of the commission or the finance committee wish to see or hear more about the details on that comparison, I'd be more than happy to provide them to you. Second line is the request for you'll see it at the third from the bottom, pending AG recommendation. This is a human resource specialist. We're proposing a new position in FY23 of $65,000. This person would report to the Human Resources Director. The particular role was called out for by the Abrahams Group under section 16.2, I believe, of their report. It is commonly found in an organization our size to have a specialist to work with the Human Resources Director to take on a lot of the data entry and clerical roles, as well as to be some level of redundancy in the event that the Human Resources Director was incapacitated. The next two items are deletions. As the commissioners know, our veteran service operation has morphed. We are dropping the two full-time salaries in FY23 for Mr. Dale Kurtz and Ms. Deborah Martin. I'll talk about where Dale's services land in just a second. But with those salary savings and the proposed increases, I'm pleased to report that the overall budget for salaries will be reduced from $1,008,275.40 a year down to $1,002,328.63. On the same sheet, you'll note that I'm carrying a remark, I think it's per Chairman Shea last week or a couple weeks ago. We want to declare what the American Rescue Plan Act is promoting for salaries. They're not impactful on this budget, but for transparency and disclosure, we're showing the three price salary increases respectively for the individuals you voted upon. Excuse me. In addition, right now, temporarily, I'm proposing a FY23 salary reserve of $225,000. This is just an estimate of cost to cover collective bargaining, cost of living increases in FY23. So overall, the amount of total personnel services is proposed at $1,264,428. As you move into what I call the lower subsidiary costs or the non-personnel costs, I just want to call your attention to one item that we're bringing in for funding in for reporting in FY23, but it was funded in FY22, and it was stated earlier in the meeting. This is the cost to cover the services of the employee handbook. We have contracted this product to be done with the Abrahams Group. I've spoken with Mark, and we're looking to trend to start that product primarily after the budget process ends, sometime in later FY22, but it may go into FY23. So we're showing it here as a cost that may be balanced forward. That is all with regard to the commissioner's budget. I'll be happy to answer any questions on that.
I'm going to open up the commissioner's budget to any questions from the commissioners or the members of the advisory board. I do have one, but I'm going to wait.
Okay.
No questions from me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. The question I have is, John, what did we spend in salary reserve last year? I should know it, but I do not.
I do not know.
Okay. And
I'm not sure you had one, Commissioner. The collective bargaining agreements were in place. If there was a reserve at this level.
Probably not, but I was curious.
Yeah, I don't believe we have one.
And this is based on your best.
Currently, the best guess of what a proposed cost of living agreement would look like for all county employees, because all three agreements are currently up for renegotiation, and we hope to have those done before the end of the fiscal year. And traditionally, those benefits flow to the non-union people, so I'm doing it as a kind of a collective benefit for those folks.
Okay, and you said you were going to explain how we're handling veteran services, did you?
So under the, I will under miscellaneous budget, that comes up next.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, that's fine. Commissioner Stady.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, a couple of comments on the commissioner's budget. It's notable the increase to HR, which Director Cronin and I had a discussion on this week. He gave me his reasons for it, and I think it's worthwhile pointing out and emphasizing for the record. The person aside does a great job, has done a great job. But to fund it and keep it comparable is always important to retain good people. And secondly, what was pointed out, I think it was emphasized the fact that she's going to undertake a complete overhaul of the personnel book, which is long overdue. We've been talking about it, and that's going to be a significant amount of time. Third, she's also going to have an assistant, which is going to involve a little bit expanding her role in terms of supervisory and, delegating some work as well. So I think the raise, though it's significant, is well justified. And also, probably more importantly, bottom line, our budget still comes in appropriate, moving forward. So it's a win-win there. So I support it.
Okay, is there a reason you got yourself down as spending here? Okay. And I appreciate you explaining the American Rescue Plan Act compensation. And
It's just a
I
note.
assume when we get to the treasurer's office, assistant treasurer will be reflected there, of course.
I put them all here. I can certainly move Joe over to the treasury, but
Yeah, well, I'd report it there too, just so we got.
I had one more thing. I hesitate to bring it up, but I think we should at least get it out there. I looked at our salaries, and I know that we're very blessed to have what we have, but I feel, Mr. Chairman, your position deserves a little bit more compensation. I think it's something that, I don't know if it's regulated by statute, but I've seen you personally this past year putting an incredible amount of time and effort in here, at different hours, putting extra time in under sometimes adverse circumstances. And I spoke to Director Cronin again. I did not speak to Commissioner Collins. He was away, but I thought a nominal bump of $2,500 to bring the stipend difference of $5,000 is not outrageous at this time. I know you may not want it. You did not seek it. It's just something I'm thinking about. When you look at a chairperson's responsibility, you've been a tremendous chairperson, and I just felt I wanted to put that forward. What you want to do is up to you.
I have no comment right now. I mean, we are taking this under advisement. I'll be happy to discuss it for the future, but not, well.
Just bring
let's
it
take
up.
Under advisement. Right?
Fair enough.
Any other questions on this one before we move on to miscellaneous?
Oh, yeah.
Next department miscellaneous. John Cronin's going to make that presentation too.
this particular grouping of accounts captures a host of line items. The most prominent is the first line item. It's our group insurance costs. In FY22, our costs were $3,692,668.75. We've been informed by Mayflower that we can anticipate a modest 3% increase for FY23. That will bring our funding level up to $3,803,448.81. I think it's behind the interest page.
Good. There we go. Thank you.
Also note, the second line, I'm going to be carrying for now $200,000 for other post-employment benefits. This is down from the FY22 funding of $300,000. This is our OPEB liability. As some of you folks may recall during our discussions with the advisory board, this is a major liability the county carries. Our bond rating agencies and auditors like to see some contribution or commitment from the county each year to fund the liability. This is a relatively small amount against our it's about $49 million liability. It's not going to get us where we need to go quickly. I will use the annual surplus to help pour more funds into that liability as we encounter them in the next several years. I did that in FY22. So this is a placeholder right now. Hope to keep it at 200, but we'll see how it moves once we try to balance the budget. In addition, I just want to draw your attention to the third from the bottom line called Veteran Services Officer Regionalization Grant. This $16,500 covers Dale Kurtz's contract and other office expenses associated with his contract to perform that role for us. I believe, just make sure.
If they could jump in. So he's still under contract.
Oh, yes, he is.
Okay, I just want to
Yeah,
make sure that.
He's working with Avon and one more thing, about 5 or 6 lines from the top, workers' comp insurance is going up by $87,000. I believe Commissioner Stady brought this in when we were speaking with the facility maintenance folks. The cost of injury on the job has an effect on our budget. This workers' comp budget is reflecting a fair amount of on-the-job injuries that we've incurred over the last several years. One particular case is really driving this cost up. Anything we could do to train our employees to operate their job functions in a safe manner pays dividends, not just for them. Obviously, we care about their safety, but on the back end, we avoid high increases like this that I think are avoidable with proper training. So I'm all in on what John McGowan was talking about for more OSHA training, and I'm hoping to see this number drop in the next several years. But you can see this increase does hit us hard for FY23.
Was that from a bid?
I can't hear you, sorry.
Was that from a bid for the, so do we seek out the insurance? How do
We bid it. I don't
Okay, we bid that, but that's a big jump in the rate.
Right. Well, there were a couple of factors. We met with Charlie and went over our account. I won't get into the details, Peter, but there was an oversight by the insurance company on our application for workers' comp insurance last year. Our costs were suppressed as a result of this typo on their part. And he came back to us and said they want to be made whole. They found the error in their calculation. So when Nancy and I met with him, I said, that's great, but we are more than 6 months into the fiscal year, no claims against this charge. I would expect some negotiation space. So Charlie was successful in bringing them down on our FY22 costs, which is great. But our FY23 is reflecting the real cost, Peter, that was miscalculated, as well as some additional charges that came in from workers' comp costs.
Okay.
All right. That's all I have on miscellaneous budget, Mr. Chairman.
Next, RSVP.
Wait, Mr.
I'm
Chairman.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick.
Sure.
In light of what's happening, is the legal services budgeted appropriate? It looks like you're level funding it. Do you think we should bump that up? Is that sufficient?
Yeah, the legal services, good point, Dick. One of the things that I do expect the FY23 budget to see a suppression on are the labor costs, because we're hoping that our collective bargaining agreements will be successfully negotiated, and our costs associated with that lawyer will go down. So I'm going to hover at 140 for now.
Okay.
Because that includes the cost of Michelle's work, pretty much the second half of FY22, which I don't expect to see into FY23. If that changes, we'll have to obviously revisit it. But yeah, good catch. I looked at that long and hard, and
just wanted to. Okay.
I want to call out the fact that the 140 is a step up from FY21 when it was 65,000.
Yes, yeah, it certainly is.
RSVP is very brief. The county holds you won't find too much data in there. The county holds 2 positions on our salary chart for Robert Pearson and Christopher Goldsmith. We're funding them, obviously. I spoke to Robert this morning. I'm going to be meeting with him either this afternoon or later this week to talk about the overall structure of his $237,000 budget. As you know, the county funds his salary, Chris's salary, a portion of them, as well as $30,000 in non-salary costs. The rest of it is funded by his grant. He does not expect any changes in FY23. It's all level funded. So there's not really a lot.
And how long have we had this grant? Do you know?
That's a good idea. I don't know.
Since the 80s.
Okay, I'll ask Robert.
Yeah, it's been a while. They do a great job, obviously.
Yeah, we do. They do a great job. I agree. I don't think there's any issues, but everything's open for discussion.
All right, on that.
Any questions on commissioners, RSVP, or miscellaneous? Again, we're going to take this under advisement as we have with every other budget. Okay.
One last budget, I believe, is the IT piece. Was that on the agenda?
Right, I have that. Or
IT, Mark, is Mark here?
I'll hit it. It's relatively straightforward. Mark's salary is obviously covered under the commissioner's office, but there are these additional costs totaling $216,000. I just wanted to show again that This particular budget is holding an $80,000 cost under data processing repair. Sorry, hang on one second. Where is it? Under account 5277, I added the 80,000 that was appropriated in FY22. We're going to carry forward into FY23. This is an asset management software program that we intend to use in the facilities maintenance department. Once implemented, it'll help us track all of our facility assets, both building, the equipment schedules, equipment half-lives, as well as an asset report so we know where things are. I'm hoping to get to that project in FY23, so we're just moving that expense into FY23. It was funded in FY22, so
Is this mentioned in the Abraham report?
No.
We were
it
gonna do
wasn't.
it anyway.
Yeah, it was already funded.
Okay.
I believe in the first supplemental, Commissioner. I use this software in my prior experience managing facilities. It's an invaluable tool for managers to know the breadth of your facility conditions. In fact, I was talking with my counterpart at the trial courts about this. The trial courts are moving in the same exact direction to manage all state properties using a software like this, so they can manage their future capital needs. They're not guessing, and they have it all planned out. So it's a great software. It's an involved process. And again, I'm moving it into FY23. Other than that, Mark is proposing the rest of the particular cost to be level funded into FY23. And obviously, this budget, I should say, reflects the status quo of the county's technology condition. We understand the Ripples Group, which the county hired back in January to conduct the technological assessment. They're underway, they're doing their work, and they expect to have a product to the county in late April. So it'll be after the advisory board meeting, but before the final budget discussion. We will, of course, through you, assess what they recommend and any impact it has on this budget or any other budget. We'll clean it up then. But for now, status quo.
That's what I was gonna ask you, so, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, through you.
I'm sorry, any questions?
Eric.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
We can.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm in the car right now. Through you to the director. I'm sure everybody can probably anticipate the question I'm going to ask. The $80,000 for the IT budget for that software, is that a cost of the software or the annual maintenance of the software itself? Because the cost of the purchase of the software itself should be capital.
Eric, it is a capital expense. It was approved by the advisory board in the first supplemental as a capital item.
Okay. All right. So is there an increase in the operating budget then for the annual maintenance of that software?
No, the maintenance won't be felt in FY23 if we launch it then, Eric. Maintenance is covered under the first year cost.
Okay, so we can expect a small increase next year for the maintenance of that software probably.
No, that increase, if it comes, would be in FY24, Eric.
That's what you're saying.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
I think, that's what I thought you were saying.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Okay, last call. Okay.
One last thing I just want to say,
Sure,
more of a
go ahead.
comment than a question. I just want to thank the county on behalf of the town of Avon, as far as Dale Kurtz and the Veterans Office. We didn't want to lose them, so we kind of latched on to them if we could. So I appreciate the support from the county in that role.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to invite John Martin, our superintendent of schools, and our business manager, Don Wallace, and we're going to start a budget review and an update from the agricultural school group.
Yes, sorry. I think John will just slide in here or something. What do you want to do?
I was gonna move that chair. I thought you were gonna pull that.
Let me give
one
you
over.
some space. You go, guys.
Whatever you want to do is fine.
We'll put the director back in the peanut gallery.
He's happy back here.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Chairman. I know that we're not in final form here, correct?
No, we're very close.
Okay.
Very, very
That's fine.
close to
Then
5.
then I'm just gonna open it up to you and off we'll go.
All right, well, we had distributed our materials prior to this. We're certainly going to entertain any questions. I think both of you are a little bit familiar with the budget already from prior meetings that I've had with some of you.
Mhm.
So maybe just an overview of what the budget is here,
Go ahead,
and then we'll
go ahead.
go through some specific lines. Certainly, this budget's an attempt to stabilize our financial situation, which is step one to running the schools more successfully, more efficiently, more productively. We feel like we wanted to leave some room for the cost of living increase. As you know, there's no cost of living increase for any employee of the school in this budget. So what looks like a surplus right now or is certainly going to be eaten up in at least subsequent years by whatever we agree to in our negotiations with our unions. We're still, in fairness, working on understanding the cost of the school. John and I haven't been here collectively even a year on the job. So I think there are still things that we will know much better in the second time around. This is really our first time around. And we're also suffering a little bit from 2 very unusual years. The past 2 years have been very unusual from the school standpoint. So in many cases, we're going all the way back to FY19 to get a reasonable run rate to use for this year's budget. I know the question oftentimes is what did we spend last year?
Mhm.
That's not oftentimes a good answer that makes any sense because of what the last 2 years have been like in the school environment. FY20 was not a typical year. FY21 was a very, very far from a typical year. So we're suffering a little bit from that. But having said that, I think we're comfortable with where we are. I think there's room for us to certainly achieve this budget. I don't consider it to be an aggressive budget. I don't consider. Just want you guys to know we haven't done a lot of deferring things that we needed to do or pushing things around into capital, into other areas, into grants. We've really tried to reflect here the running cost of the school, the operating costs of the school. So if I can go over the major areas on the revenue side, certainly the most significant change is a decision that all of us made to try to address in-county tuition and what in-county tuition a fair fee would be. You guys approved in a prior school board meeting the tuition that's reflected here in county and out of county, but the big change, as you know, is in county. So we'll see a decent increase in tuition when we get to year-over-year comparisons. It reflected here is the county commitment, which is great and wonderful and 2.5% more than it was last year, and as well as state aid, Chapter 70 state aid, which showed a significant increase for us, a decent increase for us of almost 10% increase in our state aid. In the revenue, the only change that's probably worth talking about, and even that's marginal, is the school lunch program, where we have increased a decent amount our revenue for the school lunch program. But I'll address that when we address. There's a little Abraham report section that we put together at John Cronin's suggestion, and in there we can talk about the changes that we have planned for the school lunch program. The other revenue numbers are relatively insignificant. But in the end, you'll see that the revenue, because of the changes we made primarily to in-county tuition, is up quite a bit from last year. Even though our enrollment is the same, we're actually budgeted to be a little bit lower than last year's budgeted enrollment. So it's quite a testimony to the in-county towns towns and cities who are willing to support us, and also the state and the county that we're in, each of which has increased their contribution to the school from last year. On the expense side, we have limited personnel changes, which we can talk about to the extent that you guys want to talk about individual personnel changes, but we pretty much have a very similar personnel lineup across teachers and non-union salaried employees than we have historically. We have, in John Cronin's suggestion, included every known change to people's salaries for next year, which would be increases from a step column, from a step standpoint, or in some cases in the column. So we haven't included all of those in there. We just haven't included the cost of living. So a potential cost of living increase. So we've included all known and aspirational, I'll say, column changes because teachers do declare to us what they think they're going to do from a column standpoint, and we book every one of those as if it's going to happen. Historically, if you looked at last year, about 50% of those aspirational column changes actually happened, and each column change is maybe a $2,000 to $4,000 change for people. So
And those adjustments and all this.
yeah, they're all listed there.
Right.
Everyone
I'm looking at them
who's come to us and said, I think I'm going to move a column or two columns. We just go ahead and say, yep, good. Put that in the budget. Let's plan on that happening. Right. Temporary staff is the same as the prior year. Overtime the same as the prior year. Salary reserve is an interesting line. We've talked about it, how impactful it can be to the school's results when people retire, particularly if they've been long-term employees, which most of our departures are long-term employees, and there can be consequential one-time costs associated with that. As of today, we haven't been notified of any departures from the school from any employees or particularly long-term employees. So we do have a tiny reserve in there of $10,000 for an eventuality that would happen. But it's a significant change from last year when we knew about a lot of departures, and then we got more departures than we knew about, and we're sort of paying for that. We've been pretty consistent on the contractual supplies, obligations, equipment, the stuff that's the out-of-pocket decisions that are non-personnel. It's not the most significant part of the budget, but it is the part of the budget that gets the most participation from our staff, which is a great part of the budget process for us at the school, is to get the staff involved and advocating and representing for what they think they need to do for students. So we do have a process that I think you guys are sort of familiar with that involves a lot of participation. That's the participation area, even though that's only 16% of our expenses. And then the last section, and the way it's grouped here, is the indirects, which John Cronin just made some references to as far as his budget, and John provided for us a number to use in budgeting, and it was the 3% that he subsequently referred to when he was talking about the Mayflower group. So he told us 3%. We used 3%. The only departure from that is debt service, because we borrowed a little bit more this year, $1.2 million to finish our Kemp Hall renovation, and the cost of that borrowing, the debt service of that borrowing, is reflected in next year's cost, and that is, I think it was almost $100,000. Yeah, it was $90,000. It was a $90,000 increase year over year from what our debt service costs are. So that is a high-level view of the actual of our budgeted requests for next year. The second page of what I gave you is just a fluctuation from the prior year. If I'd be glad to discuss any changes from the prior year. Do you want me to Chairman, would you like me to discuss the Abraham report now, or are thinking about that now, or do you guys
A
want?
little bit. Why don't you give us your thinking, because
Okay.
we're trying to put everything in our pot and then get back to you. So, yes.
Sure. So the Abraham's report, we took, well, you guys got our impressions of it and our attention to the detail of it. But we took from that, as far as the budget goes, three really significant areas, which was that the farm staff cost, there was some question about the cost of our farm staff, especially relative to the cost of maintenance, and thinking the two of them combined were a little bit rich. The second one was the maintenance costs themselves were kind of high, and that there was too much sort of management in the maintenance group, which was relatively small. And the last was that the school's food service wasn't really succeeding, and that we ought to consider outsourcing it. So in order, we had some turnover on the farm staff, and we were able to reduce significantly the cost of the farm staff because of that turnover. That wasn't something that we could take credit for, but it is something.
Someone retired. The most senior person retired, right?
Yes, exactly.
By the way, have we replaced that person yet?
We have a temporary employee who we want to make the
and he was from in-house, or she?
Former student.
Oh, okay. I'm not questioning it at all. Obviously, they're going to make less money than the person that left.
Yeah, significant.
Just because the person that left had, how many years?
30 some odd, quite a few.
And if you was a student, so it would really,
Right.
okay.
And it was, and
I get it, we get
the
it.
replacement is more than just, it's a younger person with less experience. The level of the job is different. We haven't replaced this person at the level of the job.
What is that title again? I love it, but I always forget what it is.
The old title was
Hay for person.
hay for
That's
person.
correct.
Yes.
Haymaker, I called it. And
So-
then the new title is?
It's just a 4-person. It's just a farm 4-person. We're not going
Farm
to,
four-person.
yes, we're not
Okay.
we're not
Okay.
going to separate
All right.
it as a hay person.
We'll have
Hay.
some haying responsibilities.
Yes, but it's going to be more distributed. among
Chairman
people, yeah.
Little is really the hay person to me. But he doesn't get paid, so that's good. Okay.
But that's not the end of what we're going to do with the farm.
That's fine.
We also have an attrition idea that we hope would manifest itself maybe in FY24. Maintenance, we're grouping maintenance workers and custodians in one group. We have decided that we're going to use one less custodian than we had budgeted for this year. We're going to go with 6 custodians, and we also have an attrition goal that we're going to try to achieve in the maintenance group proper, which is pretty consistent with the stuff that we talked about when we reported on the Abrahams group. And the last thing is the food service. The food service is really an area where we're going to try to change a decent amount. We're going to change the staffing, which if we get into an individual staff.
Except Betty.
Yeah, there are untouchables. There are some untouchables in the school. Yes, you mentioned one of them. So we are going to change the staffing. We are going to increase our farm to school affiliation. Be very visible and intentional about that, and putting money in there. And we're also, maybe most importantly from a budget standpoint, is we're going to up our revenue goal. We are going to expect to have a more well-received food program and to get more participation from students than we had historically. This is one area where I have to go back to FY19 to get a normal year of actual food service in a school, in our school. And we're even at this point not sure that next year will be a normal year yet either. It hasn't been determined completely whether the subsidization of the school lunch program is going to continue in FY23, but we're assuming it doesn't. So we're taking the conservative approach and assuming it doesn't. If it does, we'll have a much more positive financial wind in our sails if that does happen, because we saw this year a huge increase in participation in the program because the food is free, because the meal is free right now.
The lunch program always seems to be the whipping boy, though. We've had this now for a couple of years. It seems like it's that way when I'm commissioner. So it's worthy looking at it, but it was federally funded this year, wasn't it? So there was no, that comment's almost irrelevant this year.
Yes.
What happens next year, we'll see, but.
Exactly. Right. Yes. But the Abrahams group, by the time they issued their report, there had been a serious change in the landscape of the school lunch program.
Yeah.
So what they were, picking at and harping on and suggesting wasn't particularly relevant. But I'm assuming that we're going to go back to their comments.
Right, so for next year's budget, you're gonna not outsource it. You can get the way it is.
Yes, but
Okay.
we're not going to leave it the way it is. We are going to leave it the way it is in the sense that it's run by the school.
What's that mean?
But we're going to try to change it in pretty significant ways.
Sounds good. No, I got it.
We
But
want to
you're
change our
not outsourcing.
offerings. We want to change our relationship with
That
the
sounds
farm. We want to change our staffing, the level of our staffing. You'll see that. You will or have seen that in our staffing numbers.
Okay. Good.
Commissioner Collins.
Yeah, so I just want to make some comments, if that's okay. So it's really refreshing that you guys came in, because you came in with new sets of eyes, right? And for the longest amount of time, the commissioners did our very best to keep the in-county tuition rates down, because we really valued the in-county students. We wanted to provide more value to our cities and towns that sent students to our school. And we just really worked hard at that. But in the end, you realized it and you brought it to our attention that it was really not sustainable the way it stood, because we were underwater. And the only way that the Aggie could survive was being assisted in their funding through the county. It was the only way that worked. And then you looked at it with new eyes, and I thought it was terrific, because I know the tuition rate rose very slightly. So that's not a big deal. But the way that you helped us to understand as county commissioners and as trustees that it was the capital that was really holding things back. And And I appreciate the fact that you explained it to us in such a way that the tuition didn't really change, but the capital did change a little bit. And that's a formula that other communities have done for years, and we hadn't taken advantage of that. So it's not that we're trying to put more on our cities and towns. It's just that the cost of the capital really should be reflected in the tuition rates, and you were able to do that. And I really appreciate that. That was really a big deal. I know that you touched on this, but I just wanted to kind of make sure that I heard it right. So my understanding is if there's money in the coffers at the end of the year, you hope to put that towards the union and non-union percentages that have to go up a little bit. The cost of living increases. That's what it sounded like you said.
Well, I wouldn't say it that way. I would say this budget is conscious of the fact that it does not include cost of living increases, and that's not a realistic representation of how the school is run. And so we don't want to, present to you guys a budget that balances to the, $10, knowing that we don't have cost of living in there, and that ultimately we will be paying the cost of living eventually, if not next year, then the year after that. So we're trying to set ourselves up in a place where we're going to have a surplus budget with cost of living.
And the way I read it too, because you use the word surplus, and I don't see it as a surplus. I see it as a budget that's meeting your expenses. And I applaud you for what you've done. I really do, because we haven't quite had that. I know people tried, and they tried really hard, but all of it wasn't communicated in such a way that the trustees or the commissioners really understood. And you guys came up with ideas to help make that happen. So I appreciate that. And I don't see it. So I'm actually adverse to the word surplus, because really you're just trying to make it whole. And I think that's really the proper way to look at it. But sorry, that was a comment. But sorry, Joe.
All right, no,
It's okay.
that's what we're here for. Any other questions, folks? Anybody have any comment? These are
The director does have a comment.
the folks from the agricultural school. Director Cronin, do you have a comment?
I was thinking that I was probably going to collide with Commissioner Stady because we've been on the same page a lot
I
today.
bet you're gonna.
Huh?
I bet you're gonna. I'm mulling it over. Go
Do you want to ask? Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll defer.
I just wanted to announce the commissioners. I've spoken to the two Johns. We're intending to meet sometime in May to discuss ARPA and the capital improvements at the schools together. As you probably know, we're going to be looking to finalize the FY23 capital budget in early June. And by then, hopefully, we've got a path from the Treasury's opinion on how to use ARPA optimally. So I've told John Wallace and through him to John Martin that I'm happy to meet with them at that time to talk about their future capital needs. And we've talked broad numbers, but nothing specific. So it's looming.
There it is. Once again, Houdini. Oh, what was that guy that used to put his hand in front of his head?
Karnak.
Karnak, sorry, Karnak.
Shazak. That's me, Shazak. You have a song, Shazak. Superintendent, man. Any questions, any comments?
I think John in particular has done a great job in putting this budget together.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think it bodes well for the future and where we're headed as an organization, that we get our financial house in order, so that at some point in the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years, we can start thinking much more grandiose in terms of not only capital projects, but in some of our programming. And obviously not the forum to discuss any of that today, but I think once we get our financial house in order, it will give us an opportunity to concentrate efforts in other areas that to this point, and certainly our tenure, we haven't done, because we do have ideas. Don laid out some of the preliminary thoughts with regard to food service, and how we can make that a much better program tomorrow than it is today. So that would be my editorial comment of the day.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
But good. I mean, it's
Commissioner Stady.
not quite an elephant in the room, but does any of your revenue reflect directly or indirectly the solar project, which is always an ongoing topic at our other meetings? Yeah, the solar project that's done, not projected to be done, but what was done. Is there any kind of revenue in here reflected? Would that be going to us? I could be out of turn by saying that. Exactly.
No, the benefit is going to accrue directly to the school
Okay.
for rooftop solar units and
Right.
also the solar canopy. That amount is reflected in a reduction of our utilities expense.
Okay, that's
I'm working right now. I know I've said this at school board meetings.
Right.
I'm still working with Kearsarge to quantify the
Right.
actual result because I think it's important that I know what, I wasn't around when it was pitched, but I
Right.
know what was pitched to people. I'm sure there were numbers that were shared.
Yeah.
And I've reached out to Kearsarge saying, we now have a year of having these things in place. I believe I understand through them, working with them, how much the savings have been for the school. I want to sit down, John, us and Kearsarge to sit down and be able to say, is this true? Is this really the savings? How does that compare to what you pitched when you pitched putting all of these things up on the roof? Because the only benefit to the school, well, there are two benefits to the school. One of the financial benefit is just a reduction of energy costs. The other is that we can thump our chests as an environmental science school and say we have generated, so many hundred thousands of kilowatts of energy that we didn't, buy from the grid and wasn't created in some other way, but was created, sustainably from our rooftops and our parking lot.
I think that would be, if I could politely suggest and respectfully, a really good priority to get squared away at some point. And you probably need time. You need time with them, but you certainly have a year now. There's no excuse needed now to say, well, we don't. You have a year of study, they do, of having that. And that's something that they just need to sit down and look at it and then get it. And that will help us. It'll help all of us moving forward in terms of what we're going to do and, explaining and maybe not thumping our chest, but saying, okay, here's the saving. Because you can't help it at certain meetings as a trustee. I'll put that hat on for a minute. And then people say, what's going on with that? Where's the benefit? Where's the benefit?
Right.
We can't quantify it. We should be able to at this point.
Yes.
Give you time. Listen, you're new, we're all new, but at that point, we gotta stop saying that and say, okay, let's sit down and get a number there, that's all.
Yeah.
And only what's done. I'm not talking about the field or speculation, just it would really help us. So that's reflected though. There is some saving there, you would think.
Yes,
You can figure it out.
utilities. But
Yeah.
but
Hard to say, though.
in fairness, there's no more time that needs to be We don't need to wait. John's time here, my time here, it's not relevant.
Yeah.
I have every number. It's on an Excel spreadsheet. I've shared it with Kearsarge.
Sure.
I've reached out to them and said, we need to sit down and talk
Yeah.
about it. The only thing left to do is to hold their feet to the fire a little bit more and be a little more aggressive with them.
There you go.
And because they haven't been responsive to
Thank you.
wanting to sit down.
Thank
But I think you're on,
appreciate
I think you're exactly on point, particularly that we're in the middle of, in theory, a solar relationship with them.
So-
And we ought to know how the first part's going.
I would think they'd want to.
Yeah,
I would think they'd want it,
I would think they'd want to do that. Yeah, unless,
whatever. But
Commissioner Collins.
So this is the budget, and you're talking about the budget part of the solar, because the solar came up. And I appreciate that. So we appreciate the savings that the solar is going to bring to the budget. But you said there are two things. Well, there are really three things. So savings to the budget, becoming carbon neutral if at all possible. And then the third one is the educational opportunity, which is a huge part of solar. And I know it's not part of the budget, but because you brought it up and you said there are two things, I couldn't let it slide.
Thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth, Commissioner Collins. I think once we get a handle on the dollars and cents piece of this, one of the things that we need to focus our energies on, pun intended, is to figure out how to really augment that educational piece of this project. And to be quite honest, we haven't done that yet, but we're going to. And it'll become a much more, I don't want to say day to day, but it'll be much more of a regular component of our educational process on the campus.
Is my understanding the house that was used by the former business manager is still vacant, or is that going to be utilized for somebody still not on board? Is that the $1 million question?
We have some ideas, Commissioner Stady.
Okay, all right.
I don't-
Discuss later.
Yes,
Okay,
thank
all
you.
right. I'm just wondering, doing my job. All right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut about solar.
Revenue, I'm just looking
I'm
around.
on the team, but from day one, first meeting I went to, I think in December of 2015, there was the solar consultant and I listened. And at that meeting, and I won't name anyone, well-intentioned employees of ours was saying, oh, we can make 127,000 a year, we can make 130, and I left the meeting after having been to I don't know how many thousands of meetings in the city of Quincy on other projects. It drove me crazy that 5 years later, there is no figure. And when you put yourself on the hook for a figure of 120,000 and it ever comes in at 80, which is 80 more than you had the year before, they say, you said 120. Drives me crazy. So I hate to, I don't care if you wait another 5 years, but as long as it's, we'll probably have to go through a court case before we'll know, but it is what it is. I think the education portion of it is the biggest part of it. And everything you hear is we're getting away from the old way, the carbons and everything. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm sure we're all gonna have another day to discuss this, but I don't know.
My intention was only just to say.
If we're getting some,
I wasn't
it's good to-
money. That's all. I wasn't debating the solar project. I just want to say, is there money in terms of revenue? Because there was some comment by somebody somewhere that some revenue would be generated. I'm not gonna get into
absolutely.
how much, how many. I'm just saying, was any revenue reflected here? And you answered my question, which is fine. That's fine. That's all.
So I want to see if the finance committee has any questions on it.
Okay. Anyone in the finance committee have a question? Eric?
Mr. Chairman.
Elizabeth, Joe? Go ahead.
You know I'll always have something to say, right?
That's good, Eric.
I want to mimic Commissioner Collins's comments about the budget. You know, I'm still considered, I think, one of the newbies on the advisory board. I've only been on for about 4 years, and one of the first things I noticed coming on to this, and I was a former finance committee member, as most of you know, is the financial problems that it seemed like the Aggie had. You know, I kept hearing how the Aggie is one of the jewels of the county, and I totally agree with that. But getting the financial house in order has to happen, and I want to commend these gentlemen. You know, and again, mimic what Commissioner Collins was saying, coming in with a fresh set of eyes and seeing these things. I know Director Cronin and myself had some conversation regarding bonding and different ways to structure bonds, but it sounds like we're getting back on the right track, and that's where we need to be with this. Because obviously this is a huge part of our budget, and keeping that in control is going to control all the other aspects of our budget as well. So I want to thank you, gentlemen. I looked over all the information, and I think your plan is really good. It's very sound.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I understand you've been out on the hustings talking to.
Yeah, we had some informal and one formal presentation and discussion about the tuition. On Monday night, we had a
How'd it
meeting.
go in Walpole?
I think it went well, right, John? John and I were new. John and I were new at that, and each town. Well, I've been in finance committee meetings before. This one was a little bit more formal, a little more official, public than I expected, because I just didn't have a lot of experience. But I mean, they asked a bunch of questions, and there were some pointed questions, but I think they were satisfied with our answers, and I think we were certainly prepared.
We appreciate you
with
going,
answers.
because we are committed to opening, we're an open book, and,
Tune-up for tonight.
Yes.
Overall,
and there's another one tonight.
I know.
Get ready.
Overall, it was well received.
That's what
That
I
was my impression.
You'll be fine.
I just think people need to understand that these corrections that you've made don't create a surplus. They allow you to function in the black. And that's a very strong distinction.
Yeah. Point well taken.
Yep.
Did the bills go out yet?
Second, the in-county bills for this year, for FY22. Yeah, they just went out, and the second half of out-of-county bills. Out-of-county bills are
So
billed
we're-
in two pieces.
We're where we should be, right?
Yeah,
On timing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would like cash flow to be a little bit better, but it's the graces of the county that allow us to do. the
Okay,
cash
because
flow.
we want to give the towns as much notice. And
Yeah. If you're talking about the letters.
No, I know the letter
Those
went out.
letters
Okay.
have gone out. Yeah, about next year's tuition. And what?
Okay, any other questions?
Hey, no baseball.
Okay, I believe
We're gonna talk about.
that this concludes the budget portion of our meeting, the budget review. I appreciate everyone's attention. We're back on next week.
Right.
And I can't remember, did we adjourn the
I think they have to adjourn their meeting.
the advisory board portion of the meeting? Because the commissioners are not through. We still have two other items left on our.
Mr. Chair, through you, if
Go ahead.
the advisory board members could have a roll call to adjourn unless they have any questions. I refer the questions
You
out first.
absolutely can stay and listen to the rest of our meeting, but you don't have to.
I'd be happy to, Mr. Chair.
I don't.
No,
Same
only
for
been 3 hours.
Same for the double johns from the school. We don't want them to miss anything.
To the members, I just want to take a look here. Chair Childs is detained at the moment, and I don't know what other members are on. Let me go through
Eric?
the roll, if I may, please.
You and Eric.
First, if I could, is there a motion from the members of the Finance Committee to adjourn? I'd entertain that first. Anybody?
Eric, somebody?
Eric.
I see Eric's name on there. I said Dr. Child's name on there.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Beckerman, I assume that that is your motion, and I assume that there's a second. And I'll call the roll, and I will start with Mr. Beckerman.
Good move. Yeah. Stephen Paul.
Eric, are you there? Somewhere, please. Don't hear you. Okay, Mr. Connors, are you with us? Mr. Baldoff, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Mr. Baldoff would be next.
Yeah, but adjourn.
Mr. Connors,
See you later on, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Dr. Childs. Myself. So I believe, Mr. Chair, that we do have a motion made and approved to adjourn, and the Finance Committee will adjourn this meeting to return to the full Commissioners meeting.
Until call next week, we're on next week. I think it's the registry of deeds budget.
And treasury.
That is correct, and look forward to seeing you then.
Thanks,
Okay.
Joe. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you for
All right.
being as part of the meeting.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys. Peace.
To everyone who
Joe.
invited us to me. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, we're back on the record in our regularly scheduled meeting on item number 3, which is old business vacation carryover policy discussion. We had opened this discussion earlier in the meeting and then into a recess to go into the finance meeting. I can't even remember where we left off, but we were reviewing our vote of.
Sure. Would you like me to pick that up, Mr. Chairman?
Oh, Director Cronin had summarized the,
Go ahead.
briefly had summarized it.
So I'm proposing that the county embrace the directive laid out in April of 2021, that no employee of Norfolk County shall have, non-union employee shall have a balance of more than 15 days to carry forward into FY '23 at this point. This is in concert with the votes taken by this commission back in April of 2021, enhanced in May of 2021 in its vote to allow 25 days to be used. So at this point, we'll be sending out reports to the non-union personnel to use or lose any balance of time above 15 days before June 30th, 2022.
And this is all outlined on a memorandum dated March 2nd, which is today.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioners.
Well, I have a couple of thoughts.
Go ahead.
I'll go first.
Yes.
So I do remember this discussion. I remember the vote. I know there's absolutely a concern by all of us to make sure there is not an excessive amount of vacation carryover, which would then have a negative impact on the county. We can't afford that, and we don't want to put ourselves in that position. That said, though, Mr. Chairman, respectfully, I do remember too, I think when I went back and checked my own notes, the sense of the motion was passed because of COVID. And though we are now winding down, thank God, and now it looks like it's finally going to be a endemic, I guess, not a pandemic, I have to sympathize a little bit with people who have not been able to utilize their time because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I wonder, I query to the board, what would be the harm in perhaps giving them either or some additional time, or in terms of time to use it up, or additional days? Not a significant amount, but something in terms of good faith. Because I feel like my concern is to have a person like a John McGowan out for 30, 35 days, or somebody else. That's a lot of time to be without the director. I mean, is he entitled to do it? Yes. Could he do it? I suppose. But what happens if something goes wrong? There's always something that comes up, and then when you're calling him, he's on vacation. It's not really fair to the person. So I just wonder if there's some kind of compromise that we could talk about, and maybe make the policy effective maybe October 1 to give them a little more time to use it up, or even November 1. That way they got the summer and the fall to use up their times, and then after November 1, we make the policy then. That's my thoughts. I mean, it's just trying to find a middle ground. And I thank you.
Commissioner Collins.
Yeah, so I understand where Commissioner Stady's coming from. I really do. I get it. And I remember I was here 2 weeks ago and we kind of talked about this and we are trying to figure out the number of days and this and that.
Yeah.
So my understanding of the memorandum is that people will be allowed to carry over 15 days from this year into next year. And we do have, how many days do we have left to the end of the year?
85.
85 work days.
Correct.
Okay, so 85 work days. And so I would suggest that we stay with the plan and try to have everybody work their way down. And so they can carry over 15 days. I don't want anyone to lose their days, but this way, have them work off as many days as they can, try to get it down and get it down to 15 days to carry over for next year. And think about this, Dick, too. So once July 1st rolls around, they get their 5 weeks vacation plus 3 more weeks because they get the 15 days they can carry over. So that's 8 weeks that they're going to have as of July 1st. They're going to have that. So it's not an accrued thing. So it's automatic come July 1st. So what I would suggest is, because I know this is an issue that we worked at, I don't know, 5 years, trying to get this down. And the reason this issue came up, it came up because the advisory board had to step in to allow us to pay off significant accrued vacation time. That was several years ago, and they said, "Don't ever do this to us again." And
Was that with the late, respectfully, Commissioner Gillis?
No, that was with John McGowan.
Oh, no, I meant during his term.
When John Gillis was here and Franny was here, and basically the advisory board said, "Don't do this to us again. Don't
do something there."
And so I would suggest we stay with the plan. But what I said 2 weeks ago, I think is still a fit. It's still appropriate. And so if someone has an exceptional reason why they cannot do this, okay, COVID ramps up again. Oh, what are we going to do? I mean, someone goes out on workers' comp. Well, then they can't use their vacation time. And different things could happen. Anything could happen. If they have an exceptional reason, I think individually someone could come to the commissioners and we could look at it then. But I think you really have to stay with the plan because we need a plan in place. We've really worked hard to get this plan in place. And is it really fair to everyone else who has worked hard to use their days? So I don't want anyone to lose their days. So if they have 85 days to burn them down so they have 15 left, I would recommend that they do that.
Now, is it 15 or is it 10?
No, it's
I'm proposing 15. We 2 weeks ago.
I heard 10 was before.
2 weeks ago, we talked about 10, but since then, I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
We asked for the opportunity when Joe Doria dropped into our call and he was referencing his interpretation of Rule 3.
Right.
We teamed back. We found out a lot of information on, to Commissioner Collins's point, a lot of discussion over the last 6 years on this particular topic had gone down. We discovered that the 10-day rule was not the baseline. The baseline is what you all voted last April of 2021.
Okay.
Which is 15 days.
That's
all right. Well, I remember, if I may continue, if through you, Mr. Folan was here earlier.
Correct.
And brought up some good points. And actually now I'm hearing Commissioner Collins say something I didn't know we could do. If there's some reason a person can't do it, a valid reason, they go on workman's comp or COVID, God forbid, ramps up again or something like that. If it can be judged case by case, where a person can make an argument to us. Are we saying that we can make an exception to that? Is that what we're saying? Is that, am I hearing you right?
I don't know that that's what John's
I
memo
didn't-
said.
Third paragraph.
Acting as the personnel board, we can make that determination, couldn't we?
I think we can, but I'm not sure that we should.
Okay.
But go ahead, John.
Third paragraph of the memo, Commissioner Stady.
Shoot.
Therefore, effective June 30th, 2022, unless otherwise defined by collective bargaining or some other agreement or exception voted upon by the Norfolk County Commissions, no employee shall. So it offers employees to receive exceptions from this board,
Okay,
case by case.
okay.
And again, this is non-union personnel. Mr. Fulham was talking about union personnel.
Right, so they're being told, use up their vacation,
Mhm.
get it down to 15.
Correct.
They can carry over 15 starting July 1,
Correct.
and then they get whatever they have coming to them.
That's
You know,
right.
whatever they've earned.
That's right.
And if there's a problem and there's something that's valid, they can seek remedy to the board.
Correct.
Correct.
I think, okay, I wasn't catching that, and it could be
Okay.
something I didn't see. I'll
I
defer to
have two
Mr.
questions. And I'm not sure I know that anyone knows the answer. Do we have a history of how much time was used by these people? And I'm not talking about union people. I'm talking about the people on that list that Michelle gave us last, yeah, which I have right here.
Chairman. Yeah, non-union. you
And
said.
how many people is that roughly? 47 or something?
Approximately.
A history of what they've used when they were ordered to use them before.
We can get that information if you'd like.
Because I worry about people that lived by it as opposed to people that didn't. And then they'll say, well, gee, they'll come and say, you want us to do this. I did it, but Mary Jones didn't do it. For whatever reason. Now, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. My reason's as good as your reasons. And I believe me, I understand all that. And I hate getting involved in it.
Right.
At some point, we have to do this. I mean, we're going way out on budgets, we're going way out on consultants. We're trying to draw a line here, and it's very, very difficult. And I think I want to support what I voted in April and May of last year. I understood it. I think we have to stay with the plan, and I understand what I'm voting for here today. It says there can be exceptions. The other thing is, if there's only 85 workdays left and this is going to go out, you're going to be down to 75 before it goes out at 70 or
It's
79.
going out today.
Okay. Oh, okay. Uh,
Are you thinking extend it a little bit?
no, I think we got to do it. I'm not because
Okay.
I think we got to draw the line in the sand for everyone and then try to fight it out. I know.
Can we actually?
I was not at the advice, I don't know of the, or did not attend the advisory board because I wasn't there and I wasn't on the advisory board. I filled in, it wasn't one of the meetings I ever went to, but I remember hearing all about it.
Absolutely.
And it's quite a while ago.
Can we, as an employer, us, the employer,
As the employer,
yeah, can we restrict, if a person puts in a vacation time, let's say two key people in the same department, say, okay, I'm gonna burn out my days. Can we deny that? Can we, what's the legal remedy we have on that? Or, you know what I'm trying to say?
Could you try your question again,
Okay,
respectfully?
so let's say,
okay, go
say
ahead.
we had two people hypothetically, won't say any names, in the same department, and they were both very key people, and they both say, we're gonna burn through, 40 days, we're gonna be out all of May, part of June. Can we say no to one and yes to the other? Because we need you, someone here? Can we regulate that?
I think technically you could. That's not our culture. I think I would ask both of them to work out a plan that achieves the same goal.
Okay.
And I think as Commissioner Collins pointed out, there is sufficient time under this scenario in FY 22 to liquidate that kind of a balance, no matter who it is on this list.
Okay.
And I'd ensure that happens.
Okay, we need a vote on this memorandum, correct?
I'd prefer a vote, yes, given the
Well,
circumstances.
yeah, I don't want to leave it any more up in the air than it has been, and I'm not sure it's been up in the air, but but I'm worried about the people that were able to embrace it. And do I understand why some other people can't? Yes, perhaps I do, but.
Does this also, all right, well, I have one question. Does this also address the assertion by Mr. McGowan that we're retracting a vote of some sort? Doesn't this kind of clarify that then?
I don't
Maybe.
believe we're retracting a vote, we're affirming it almost.
You are.
I mean, I read it and I wrote here in my answer as
Yeah, we've discussed
back up to the April 21st and May 21 votes.
Yeah.
That's after reading it, what I wrote. I did read all of John's information here.
Well, there's at least I feel more comfortable with the fact that the employee would have an opportunity to seek some kind of remedy if something did come up. I think that's critical. I didn't catch that.
I think it's a good policy to have that kind of an exception. I would require anybody who comes forward to have, as Commissioner Shea indicated, a strong justification, a good reason. But this board clearly took an action a year ago that I thought was fair, to your point about being flexible under the circumstances regarding the state of emergency, which did end in June of 2021. So it's been almost a year, or quite a year, that we've been out of the emergency, although we still practice COVID protocols. It's still an environment that requires a lot of facility upkeep. Nevertheless, I do think the exception does provide an opportunity. I just would really require some strong justification for it.
And you feel comfortable with it, Peter?
Yeah, I think it's important that people burn their time down and they coordinate with coworkers to make sure that, the engine still works.
Yeah.
But we've been working at this for years and years. And we don't operate in a vacuum. We operate with the authority from the advisory board. And they gave us specific instructions that we couldn't do this again.
Yeah.
And if you think about it this way, Dick, I think it's really important. So if they have enough time over the next 85 days to burn down a good chunk of the days, they can still carry over 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And the individuals are talking about, I think they're at the max at 5 weeks vacation. So you add the 3 weeks to 5 weeks. And as of July 1st, they're going to have 8 weeks.
Which isn't bad. Yeah.
Well,
I didn't think of that. Yeah. Yeah. Just trying to be fair. I think we all are. I'm just trying to come up with something that would be, but you know what? I'll let you make the motion and I'll be glad to second it.
All right.
Just done with. I understand where we are now.
Do you want to read it or do you want me to just say that I vote in support of the memorandum that Chief presented?
Sure.
All right.
That'd be special.
I make a motion that we approve the memorandum presented by the county director with regard to the vacation carryover.
Dated March 2nd, 2022.
Dated March 2nd, 2022.
Which highlights the idea that they cannot carry more than 15 days vacation, right? And if they don't, anything over that would be lost.
Correct.
No compensation paid, but exceptions can be made, more or less. Key things. Just
on a case-by-case basis.
Case by case. Okay. Yeah, I'll second it. I will.
Okay, a motion made and seconded that we reaffirm through this memo of March 2nd,
I know, sound good.
2022, from the county director relative to vacation carryover. Therefore, effective June 30th, 2022, unless otherwise defined by collective bargaining or some other agreement or exception voted by the commissioners, no employee in Norfolk County shall have a balance of more than 15 vacation days. Any balance of unused vacation days, not vacation days exceeding 15 days, shall be deemed lost, and no compensation shall be paid for such loss. This is going to be sent out with an attached spreadsheet outlining where everyone stands, their status.
Correct.
Okay, on the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
It is 3-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to go now to, did the county director give his report so
He
long
did.
ago? He did. Okay, we're going to go to number.
But by now I might have more.
Well, do you?
No, I'm just kidding.
We're going to go to number 13.
Please, God, help.
Emergency items, a topic that the chair did not reasonably anticipate would be discussed. I think I had something earlier today, but I have nothing now. I think it was taken care of. Number 14, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We have a regular meeting next week.
Very productive day.
Further budget presentation,
To
treasurer department and
and
registry deeds.